Hey folks, welcome to Sunday Night Fights. How's everyone doing today?
Yeah, it's gonna be. We got some good blows out on the table already. I think so far, this tradition has grown, and we're getting more quality and more games. And today we got four good ones. Already, I see two that are very spicy from the beginning. Promise at least to be very spicy. Um,
Yeah, if this
yeah.
is your first time joining us, we have been doing this every week as a weekly commentary show at this time. We have a bunch of students within the dojo that all wanted to play training games. We set up these round robin tournaments, 90 plus 30 classical time control. And yeah, every week these have been getting more and more exciting, more and more intense. And yeah, today we're gonna have four games to look at and critique. We try to be pretty honest with our thoughts, as at this point we've worked with these guys for some time now, and when they mess up and make mistakes, we tend to take it personally, and we want them to do better.
Oh, there's definitely going to be some flamingos on the board, SCV. Definitely some flamingos. Um, let's start off with Vishnu and Mitch. I think this is so. Someone rated only like 1900. Vishnu knows a lot of theory, and I think it's just a sign of the times too, with the chessable and everything, that people are getting more and more theoretical with their openings, which is not necessarily a good thing. But this is an interesting choice. I've advocated this to some of my students as well. The accelerated, and here black has several moves. The conservative players like Eugene, who play this, Eugene Perelstein, like to play Queen. Oh, wait, hold on, I have to catch this up. I was looking at the other board. Bishop c4, castles, bishop b3. Here's where we're at. So we've got several moves. Queen a5 is what Eugene Perelstein likes, and then white is going to be a little bit better after castle short. Another spicy move is a5, which is threatening a4, and it's pretty theoretical, pretty interesting. And then the nice thing about the accelerated is you can always just go back and play d6, go back to the normal dragon. And the advantage of this dragon is that you don't have to deal with the what I think is theoretically a better situation for white when he gets to leave the bishop on f1 and play queen d2, f3,
Right.
and castles long.
Yeah, I think that's
So
what draws many players to the accelerated dragon, just being able to avoid the most dangerous lines of the Yugoslav attack. I agree. I think it's a pretty simple, pretty underrated opening. It has one drawback, in my opinion. The Marazzi bind. I don't think is easy to play against. But if white is not going there, then I don't see any drawbacks with the accelerated dragon. So
I was, and I gave what I thought were the main list of moves, and Vishnu played a6, which is like, I think that's like the drag door for something like this. Um,
yeah, I mean, usually it's with d6. I rarely ever see it with like an accelerated dragon.
yeah, it's pretty weird.
But before we go any further, actually,
Yeah.
let me confirm with the chat that the sound is good. Our volumes are close. If not, let me know so that I can adjust them. I also have a little bit of music going on in the background, and let me know if that gets too loud at any point.
What I was going to say actually about the Maroxy is I think for a guy like Eugene, who has popularized the accelerated dragon, it's not a problem to face the Maroxy. In fact, I think dude loves facing it. But for a guy like Vishnu, one of the reasons this particular opening surprised me is I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's ready for the Maroxy. I don't think there's a certain kind of player it just breaks their soul when to play against the Maroxy, and I think he's one of them.
Yeah, I think you either need to be up for it, or you just need a ton of experience that you feel like really comfortable there and have no problems. But I mean, I think it's doable. Like if you study like Mamadov and Iturizaga, I mean, they play against it like almost every game, and they do just fine. So the
Yeah,
players are
no,
out there showing the
it's
example.
it's just a position, and one, it has some similarities to the hedgehog that Vishnu had last week and kind of missed his chances on. Vishnu's clearly prepared in this weird Dragdorf thing with a6 and queen c7 now. And honestly, if I was playing Vishnu, I don't know if I'd be upset at my position, but I'd just be like, this is so dumb that I'm engaging in a theoretical struggle against Vishnu. Why wouldn't I? I just would want to play normal chess. Because here, you don't know what Vishnu's up to. He's clearly got some weird ideas. Like, depending on where I go, he might play knight e5, c4. The guy might play e6, d5. He might hit me, of course, with b5.
Now, you've definitely seen more Vishnu games than I have. Is he one to improvise in the opening, or is the fact that, he only spent a minute on these moves, does that usually mean he's still in his preparation?
Oh, he's definitely still in his prep. The guy, he's spending a lot of time studying openings, a lot of time. And he's generally choosing lines as white that are very aggressive. Really, really aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he loves this thing. And we've talked about on the show how he hates the London. That's metastasized, by the way, online to being one of the greatest Twitter battles I've ever witnessed, man. People are up in arms about Vishnu talking trash about the London, and then he's got a whole field of yes men out there talking about how terrible the London is for your soul.
So
yeah. Vishnu is black. His name is Liszt. And here's a cool thing about Vishnu. Before he became obsessed with chess, he was doing piano, and hence the name Liszt. The London should be banned. That's right. So yeah, this is going to be a really interesting struggle. And something else, let me bring this other game up, because this is one of my personal favorites. So, I have a bunch of students. Joel is one of them. And I usually do not tell my students what openings to play. Now, I'm reading this cool book by Nikitin about Kasparov, and maybe I'm going to change my mind. Like, maybe I'm going to be like, no, we're going to tell people what to do.
Oh, this should be fun.
But Joel, unfortunately, a couple years ago, watched a Ginger GM video on the lion. And so here we go with Quirked facing the lion.
Darn. A gateway video.
A gateway video, that's right. Rookie one. Everything's kind of normalish so far. H6, and I'll tell you this, H3 probably isn't objectively all that bad, but to the lion player, H3 is what they want to see. Absolutely. And here Joel comes out, bam, G5, and this is what they dream of. Right? This is what the lion players dream of with this system. And one of the bummers that's so bizarre about this position is that it's actually, even though white's pieces look active, it's hard to know what to do with them. And in particular, the knight on c3 poisons the white position because it's so dominated by the pawn on c6. And it would like to do something like knight e2, g3. And this position, I will say, I've gone over a lot of Joel's games from this position, and he has poor results with it even when he gets good positions. And this is partly to blame for the Ginger GM. Let me just say the obvious thing, it's obvious, especially if you've seen a couple of the games. Black is going to develop an initiative against the white king, and h3 did not help white in that regard. However, a traditional problem that black is going to have, even if his position becomes good, which I think it now is how do you get the queen on c7 involved in the attack, and how do you place your pieces to connect your rooks? It can be done, and I believe black is better here, but I'm going to just say it requires a lot of skill. For example, are you going to abandon this pawn? Are you going to protect it? Where are you going to put the bishop? And how do you bring, the key real $100 question is, you're not going to finish white off unless you bring the lady. The lady's going to have to find a way into the white position to finish him off. And so Very nice position, but like there's a lot of technical skill for black, I think, to finish this attack off.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like you can get your dream position, but yeah, it's still like a really risky and sharp position. To me, the whole line just seems like based off of that one Kramnik win over Aronian from the candidates 3 years ago or so.
Right.
Who just played like Rook G8 in the opening, and now they just want to do this like every game.
Right.
I mean, I'm all for it. Like, it's such a like interesting way to play chess, and if it has like, I love lines that are not engine approved but have like really deep trickery to them, because I think they make the game really rich. And
Yeah.
it's practical.
And I think here's first of all a funny comment. Did Vishnu watch the Dragdorf video? I think that you're right. Ginger GM has some Dragdorf video out there, and that could have destroyed Vishnu as well for what he's doing. He's making life really complicated. One thing about non-engine approved that I think is fascinating. So we go back to move 3. If you turn on the engine in this position, it will tell you that white is much better after DE, DE, snip, snip. But then when you start looking at it deeper, let's say bishop c4, for example. The old school move is bishop e6. However, if you just start looking at it deeper, if you just play king e8, let's say king e8, knight f3, and then this ugly looking move knight fd7, you will play c6, and you will play, your pieces out to normally looking squares. You will play f6 at some point. And there's some surprising, it's not easy. It's not an easy position to crack. You got to be a little careful. In fact, I'm a little, the move order kind of freaks me out.
Yeah.
But that is the idea anyway about playing e5 on move 3, which I think when I was a kid was just like, no, you don't do that. And now you kind of can. And the other thing that's really, this actually comes from Engine Land, is the engines are saying that this position is totally respectable for black, which honestly I don't quite understand. All I know is the engine says this is okay. Yeah.
But I just feel like you analyze anything today and you can make it work. But I mean, to me, it's just always about getting positions that you can play like normally.
Well, right, and the what's bizarre about, say, this position here is the engine just does not approve basically forever. But once I don't know what that would say now, but I mean, I would definitely rather be black here.
Yeah, when you know your plan. I think like Vishy has said a couple times, it's better to be delusional but confident rather than objective and insecure about your position.
That's right.
I think that's so true. Even at like the highest of levels, like having a plan is just so nice. And looking at this position from White's point of view does not make me happy. I'm just like nervous. Like, when's g4 gonna happen? Am I gonna be in time to deal with like knight f8, knight g6, knight f4? I remember actually facing this in a simul I played, and I was pretty nervous because I thought the guy was like a fanatic and had studied everything, and I have never looked at these positions. So I think somewhere around here I came up with a plan to go. I think I played knight h2, knight f1, knight g3, and then the idea was to just play knight f5 probably as soon as possible.
Sure. And really, if you could do that with your c3 knight, it would be even much better. If you can, in fact, I'd say if you can fix your c3 knight in any kind of way possible, you are going to be doing much better. One piece of drama here, actually, for both players is on queen d3. Let's say you play queen d3, and then your intention is to move this knight. Well, it gets spicy because the second you move the knight, then d5 is possible with the e4 trick. But imagine you're black here. The trick isn't going to work if you play knight f8. So what do? Do you like hang around one move just to see if he falls for it? a5 is always a move that you can throw in, but there's real questions of skill and tactics in these positions that, pretty pretty
Yeah, no,
intense.
I see what you mean. And if black goes a5, then as white, like, I feel comfortable going bishop a2. You know, I must have time for this now. And then you kind of get out of everything.
Iago, I would say the reason I don't think white got what he wanted here is because he played h3.
Mm-hmm.
And h3 is just a really bad sign. It's a natural move, but it's creating the lever that black is going to need to rip the king open whenever he's ready. And yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, hook, exactly. I mean, I wonder what happens if white... Because I understand why he played this one. This is part of, like... This is actually part of the Negi repertoire, the Negi setup against this. I mean, this is the main line, so I'm sure a lot of people know it. But yeah, the idea is always like, okay, h3, and then bishop a2, bishop e3. Basically everything white did in the game. And then at some point, like, knight h4, knight f5.
Right.
But if white doesn't play h3, let's say white, like, played bishop a2 here, then is black going g5, or...
Either g5 or knight f8, but probably g5. So you're going to do it anyway.
Well,
and yeah, you don't want to play h3. Another move that makes sense for white besides bishop a2 is just the simple a5.
yeah.
And one point about that is, like, if black plays black had the choice. He could have played a5 immediately after a4, and that's also what is just an option. And and now I only know about it because I've talked to Joel so much, but I think in the Ginger GM thing, Ginger's like, you can play it if you want, you don't have to. Yeah. And another question was, do I think it's shaky? This is Pass Pawn asked a question for you too. I do think it's shaky, but I think when he first told me about it, I was like, dude, please don't do this, or if you do it, play it as a Philidor, which is the Philidor got rebranded as the Lion, basically with this G5 idea that Philidor's players back in the day would never have even dreamt about. But the Philidor is very, very good, and you're just waiting to see what white does, and you can react.
The naming actually makes a lot of sense, right? Because the Philidor is considered kind of a passive opening, and this is just like a totally different concept. So it makes sense to classify this as like the black line variation, or whatever Simon wants to call it.
Right.
Well, we have 2 more games. We could quickly see what's going on here.
Let me just put the couple more moves on the board. So it wasn't Rook G8. Yeah, why don't you pick the next one? But let's just get it on the board here, what we've got. So it was, in fact, Rook G8, Queen D2, and Knight F8. And the problem with Queen D2 is now it looked natural, but the Knight on C3 isn't going anywhere now because Knight E4 comes with tempo. And Knight G6, F4 looks very strong. So it's a real... Yeah, I've seen this in action. It's very hard for white to do anything here, and black just needs a couple tempos before Armageddon happens over there on the keys.
Right.
I'm going to promote this variation.
It's definitely like a ticking bomb.
Which game would you like me to grab here?
I think we should look at the Counter Sparks and Shash Masteo game.
Sure. Oh, yeah, we got some action going.
So this is 2 more Warrior players. And then we have 1 game from the Squire group as well.
Yeah, let's start from the beginning and see how this happens. I was at a U.S. championship, and the famous black player playing this position was offended that white played this because it petered out into a draw kind of quickly. I think chess is chess. Come on, and this is very violent. That what white's doing, black's doing. Excuse me. Intuitively, I am not on black's side here. I don't believe in this, but I don't know anything about this particular position.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if this is some kind of theory or something I've seen before. It definitely feels like black is... Well, I don't know. What's happening after bishop b5 check? Black just takes it or what?
He's got so many moves. He could play knight takes d4. He could play bishop b5. I'm going to assume bishop b3 leads to nothing. It is clearly theory because Shock Masteo has used basically no time at all. Let me just give me. I'm gonna give you. You have to defend black because I've had a long day. So knight takes d4, and then what do you want to do?
I think bishop takes.
There was options there too, I guess, and maybe you're fine. Maybe you're fine. Like, yeah. I mean, I still like white. I guess I'm in love with the development, so I'm intending bishop g5 here.
Right.
But maybe that's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Okay, but
I wouldn't be too worried, I think, with black. I was actually concerned from white's point of view, like if they fell into some, bishop g4 stuff.
Well, right, and that was one of the reasons I took on d5. I mean d4 in this position.
Yeah. Actually, I'm wondering whether bishop g4 was an option here.
Oh. But okay, let's say I take this guy. So I'm threatening bishop f7.
Yeah. Let me just play like Stockfish. Or how I would imagine.
Alright, I'm going to take another one.
Yeah, just here, like minus 1.5 or whatever.
That sounds plausible. I can imagine it, kind of. Let's just do a natural move, knight e4. Oh, there's questions on. How about bishop g5 might be more sensible.
All I can really say, it's super sharp, and I have no idea really what's going on.
Totally fair, yeah.
So just hard to judge. Crony is asking about donations. I feel like we've been able to receive donations through the donation link below the video so far. So I'm not sure why it's not working.
Yeah, strong chess. That was my concern as well. With knight e4, I was dropping the f-pawn. Still, white might be better after that, but that's why I came around to just bishop g5.
Oh, Jesse, you lost your video.
Oh, I see. There was a little ding-dong. I was wondering what that was. Ling. Let me see here. I can fix that one. Turn camera. There we go.
Cool.
So, yeah, I don't quite know what black's threat was. White's thinking about it. The other thing too. Right. Well, anyways, he didn't play bishop g4. The man did this, and we're looking at white's thinking about it. Knight takes d4 is just like the first intuitive that comes to mind.
Yeah. I guess bishop b5 check. I really just didn't like knight takes b5, and then
he should be okay here, right?
You mean white or black?
Actually, I have no idea. What did you do on it? You're right. This one's also a little bit problematic. This one's also a question mark. Yeah. Some kind of theory schmeary here is going on.
Right. Clearly, white is out of book. So I'm glad he's thinking. That shows maturity. That's definitely one of the things I've been seeing in the group. Okay, finally we have knight takes d4, which seems pretty reasonable.
Your bishop b5, I didn't have a clear answer to it, but knight d4 is a pretty good human move. Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, I didn't like bishop b5. I just thought white, if black gets the light squared bishop, should be okay.
Let's just ask one question before we leave this knight takes d4 thing. On knight takes d4, what exactly am I doing after dc?
Oh yeah, this is very unanswered. Yeah, actually, this one might just be nice for black.
All right, let me try knight f3. Bishop g4 is certainly a thought. If there's any more bishop g4.
Yeah.
Bishop g4. This is complicated.
I would be interested in castling, but bishop g4. I mean,
on bishop g4, I think at least I want to play rook e1. So I don't know, what you want to do after rook e1, but definitely the kind of position where black at some point could sacrifice a pawn, though, right? And just be like, I've got beautiful bishops.
Yeah, very, very Marshall style. So, I don't know. I used to be an e5 player. I think I wouldn't be panicking here as black just yet. I don't know what I'm doing, but I feel like I'm almost never panicking if I have the light square bishop and only down one pawn or so.
What do you mean? You're not an e5 player anymore?
Well, I've been playing like Sicilian for the last couple of years.
Oh man, you were doing so well with that e5 business, bud. That was inspirational. Come on.
I mean, it was alright, But black does take on c4.
Holy moly, he did it pretty fast.
I don't think he's in prep though. I feel like he's just playing quickly. Just like, does that mean? Bishop e5 is not the most popular line. Knight d4, okay, that's a move he probably knew. And then I think he probably knew the c6 idea, although he spent like 2 minutes here. Another 4 minutes on d5. I think if he knew the move d5, he would have just played it. So I think he's just kind of playing this one more on instinct.
Could be, yeah. I assume knight f3 is really the only move anyway. Did you ever read this book by Bronstein? It's called like 300 Open Games or something like that.
I've kind of briefly went through a few of them.
Anyways, I just thought of that book here because there are so many of those wild open positions that remind me of this kind of thing, especially where maybe black loses a pawn but has fantastic compensation. And I don't know exactly how he should lose the pawn here, after knight f3, but clearly he's got a variety of ways to do this. Even castling short right now isn't totally dumb.
Oh, I just noticed. Thank you so much for the donations from Nabatone, or maybe Nabbit1, and ScottPost123. Much appreciated, guys.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Dan Heisman's books?
I have to admit, I've never read. I've never read a Dan Heisman book.
Yeah, same actually. I think it's good. I mean, I think people have learned a lot from his books. Yeah, for some reason I just never came across it. I never actually read one.
Yeah, I think here on the East Coast too, he's got a lot of students, and people like the guy.
Yeah, I think he's legit. Every time he writes something on Twitter, I find myself just agreeing with it. I think he understands amateur chess players really well, and their problems and the kinds of things they tend to undervalue or overvalue in chess. So, I'm sure his books are. I should check them out. Maybe I would even recommend them.
Let's go to Phenom Monkey and Never Eve.
Actually, I think we might even have a fifth game.
Okay.
Chess mentioned in the Twitch chat that they just added the game link in Discord. If you could send that to me in our private chat, that would be easiest for me.
Yeah, cool. So Phenom Monkey here. Are these guys in your group, by the way, in your training group?
Yeah, both of these guys are in the Squire group.
Mm. Now this is one of my pet peeves actually in a position like this. I love this kind of setup for white, but I'm very much against the move e5. I think moving either pawn is going to be a bad thing, but if you're going to move a pawn, you want to move f5, because the dream of Federico the f-pawn is to free this bishop and to free the rook. And after e5, well, it's not going to be as easy. Though, I want to be clear, in this position, e5 does have some merit, right? How much merit's another question, but it has some merit, because the knight on f6 doesn't have any fantastic homes. And maybe what he does is controversial, because now white really does kill the knight on h6.
Yeah, I mean...
Oh. And I kind of... Oh, White did this pretty well. White did this pretty well. Right?
I mean, it's weird. This definitely is a weird position. And we have more developments. After some thought, black played bishop h4 check, and white took. Actually, I would have expected...
Oh, yeah, that's a mistake, right?
I would have expected king f1.
Yeah, for sure, king f1.
There's a lot to unpack here. Well, I've been playing the Timon of Sicilian for a little while, and sometimes you get basically a French, out of the Sicilian when you play these e6 lines. Normally, if d5 was already in, and we had something like this, then I think e5 is a mistake for white. In fact, black can even go knight g8 here, and then just come out with h5, knight h6.
Right, and knight g8 was one of the things that in the game, too, might have been better than knight g4.
Yeah, that might have been a better option, because then black can play h5 here, like if h3, h5, and then black gets the square. So the only thing I'm not sure about is like maybe their knight e4 is somehow annoying, but I don't think it would be. I think we just bring the knight to f5 and we're okay.
And we have a question about, do we need somebody to DM the game to you, or just post it in the post it on Twitch, and we'll link to it. I don't think it's being played. If it's being played, it's not being played on chess.com. It might be on Lee Chess, which is fine. You could grab it from there too.
Yeah, the Twitch chat is probably gonna block links.
Oh, I see.
But maybe, Jesse, you could check the Discord. Can you check the general chat in the tournament?
Sure. I can check that out. Let me just say this: I'm attracted to these positions because it's like King's Indian on crack for white, and Bishop h4 is just a misplaced piece. So before I go off on my Discord journey, I just want to say King f1, and I believe in the white position.
Yeah. Then black has to... Well, the bishop is not doing anything, but one day black will have to worry about even getting it trapped with g5.
Right.
But really, white just has like a perfect Rossalimo here. It can go after the c5 pawn, b3, knight a4, bishop a3, or bishop e3. If black ever pushes d4, then the e4 square becomes just a fantastic. So positionally, I think black has very serious issues here with the light squared bishop. It's just so hard to do anything with this guy. I mean, you can try some c4 stuff, but usually white has ways of keeping the position blocked in. In some cases, white will even play b3 and c4 themselves and just completely killing the light squared bishop. As you can see, it just has like no way of getting out. But surprisingly, white took on h4, which definitely feels like a mistake because it just allows black to trade off one of their like problematic pieces. And now white kind of has less control and is in danger of just being overextended. Like black plays f6 at some point and might even start to feel pretty optimistic here.
Now, is the game we're looking for with Thad Stevens and Rosewood? Is that who we're looking for?
That sounds right. Yeah, I think that is patient.
Because I think they're playing. I think they're playing my squirm, my variation to make the French players squirm. Man, I think that's what's going on. So this is. So for those of you wondering about it, I did a video pretty early in the Chess Dojo, and about just I'm interested in general about which openings which approaches to specific openings make the practitioner squirm the most. And so I did this video here. It's a pretty dynamic thing, which I presented some new ideas with. Hopefully also easy to understand. That's my goal in all my opening videos, is not only just for the sake of presentation, but I really do believe that the simpler things are, the better you'll be able to use it in your own games. That's certainly the case for me. Like the openings that I was able to understand within 5 minutes were the ones that I had the most success with. So in my series, I concentrated on the moves like CD and Queen B6. So I think Rosewood is out of the moves that I had talked about, but that's fine.
Oh, can you send me the... Actually, wait, I think I can just find it by following the player.
Yeah, he's in there.
This is that's
Rosewood, right? Yeah. Actually, and I want to do a Twitch experiment. So if I control, oh no, I see. If I just control V to, no, I did a terrible thing there. That's not gonna work.
Wait, actually, it didn't come up for me. Can you do me a favor and send me the link in Discord?
Yeah.
Or maybe I have too many games open. Oh, I do have it. Yeah, I just have too many games. Okay, so that's gonna mess with the... I'm gonna have to fix the screen grab real quick. Okay, just a sec, guys.
But for the moment, come to the analysis board. We got it. This is it. This is the real thing. Oh, okay. This is really fascinating. So look at what happened here. Castles. C takes D4. Now here's the interesting point. In the positions that I was looking at, and this might make it difficult for both sides to understand what's going on. The queen is usually on B6, and in these positions, the interesting thing that I put forward is to like just say to black, look, I'm going to let you take on C3, and you are then going to develop my knight when you take on C3. So what white did in this position is he said, all right, I'm going to follow Jesse's advice and play rook E1. This might be fine, but I think black has done himself a favor by keeping the queen on B8. And the easy way for white to have done it here would have been to play CD. Because knight b4 is far less scary than it seems at first sight, because you can just play knight c3, and yes, you lose the bishop, but black gave away a lot of time by doing that, and the queen is really optimally set up to start sliding over here where she wants to be after some knight g5 at some point. In fact, I would say white is much better in this position. So this might be a case where someone is following my advice a little bit too literally. Let me just, actually, just for those people watching, I'll introduce this, maybe Kostya as well, is, the idea is people have wanted to play bishop d3 in the advance for over 100 years. That's just what they've wanted to do for over 100 years. Yeah. And the problem has always been c takes, queen b6, and then some lamos have played bishop e2, and no one ever wants to do that. And some people have played like knight c3 as a gambit. That's also interesting. And in fact, like trying to get an improved version of that knight c3 gambit, chess.com says it's called the Milner-Barry gambit, was one of my inspirations for doing the video.
Sorry, Jesse, can you check your video real quick? I feel like it might be frozen.
Oh man, sorry about that, guys. It is frozen, and we've been having, I've been saying, I don't know if I need to buy a new camera or something, but I've been having technological grief. Kostya, let me tell you about it. I've been having technological grief.
Same.
Anyways, so the point is just to get the bishop on that beautiful square, and what black did, probably thinking he was being very clever, is to say, well, I'm going to really make him be punished with a knight b4 for it. But the problem with that knight b4 stuff was that you are giving away so much time and developing the queen, which is also giving away time. But in any case...
But white is going to have to make make something with this lead in development. Otherwise, black gets the 2 bishops and it's going to be very happy.
Right, but I want to say that knight on c6 is in a lot of ways also black's best miner. So when you trade it off with cd and knight b4, it's not a real advantage. But anyways, he followed my advice, and this is going to be really interesting. Where black, check this out, black refused to take on c3. This is hilarious. And then white said, okay, now I'll take it.
Right.
And actually, we're going to get a position very similar to what we just had. And yeah, we got this basically on the board now. And well, you're absolutely right that white needs to aggressively go after black. And the simple truth about the French is going to be captured in this position where white needs to play on the king side. Regardless of wherever the black king goes, white needs to play on the king side, and he needs to do it with energy. And he's really all set, honestly, for a knight g5. And black needs to make a good move here.
I feel like I had a lot of success with these positions with black as a French player, but yeah, eventually I just got tired of this kind of thing. Just every game, just like having no space, living with this king on e8, waiting, to see how I'm gonna get checkmated next. Is it gonna be knight g5 this time, bishop g5? Maybe white just trades the dark squares bishops and just like squeezes me to death. So yeah, it could be really unpleasant for black. Like most things, I think it's gonna just come down to like the tempos, but I feel like black doesn't have huge reason to panic just yet. Like I would try, let's say, knight c6.
I think if you play knight c6, you're going to regret the fact that your knight isn't helping out on the king side. So I would say knight f5 is the most interesting move right here.
Yeah, I guess knight b5 is annoying. Yeah.
Dor asked about that I suggested knight bd2 in the video, and there was true that was a slightly different position. But here we've kind of white has achieved the dream. Black just played queen b6.
That ain't it. That's not it.
Okay, but white still needs to play some good moves here, and I think what I'd like to just intuitively play is knight g5, but I do have to worry about knight f5 after g5. So yeah. Let me just, Costa, let's just talk about your openings here for a second. So you've been sleeping around with a lot of ladies over here, right? You've got e4, e5. Now you're doing the Sicilian. There's French in your past. Anybody else we need to know about?
Well, I mean, I've been spending most of my time with one knight c6, if we're going to be honest.
Oh, no, man. I saw you doing that in Blitz, and I thought that was just a summer fling that you had going on.
No, at first it was just Blitz, but then I got into it. Started playing against lower rated players,
Uh-huh.
It's a pet line, everyone is allowed a pet.
Well, the flamingo's a nice pet, but he doesn't like to be called a pet. That's the thing about a lot of, especially openings with animal names, don't appreciate it when you call them pets. They want to be more than just pets.
They want to be your main line. So true. I am trying to figure it out against e4, because, I mean, I would like to play e5. I think, that was kind of the plan coming back to tournaments this year.
Well, yeah, I think you should, honestly, dude, I think at least what ChessDojo wants, what your fans want, is they want to see you play e4, e5, and then they want to see you play the King's Indian, but they want to see you play King's Indian like a man. They don't want you to do like some weird Perelstein knight a6 thing. They want you to play Mar del Plata, the whole business. The whole business, buddy. That's what they want.
I mean, okay, if that's what people want, how can I argue? No, that is the fun stuff, to be fair. And I have a lot of nice wins there. Some great stuff. I'll be playing next weekend, in fact, in the G60
Uh-huh.
from the Pacific Northwest Chess Club. I'm not allowed to stream the games, but I'll probably do a stream after the games and go over them. So that'll be
Okay,
fun.
yeah, that sounds fun. What is this tournament? Tell us about it.
It's basically an open. It's going to be 3 days, like Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Game
Mhm.
60, 5 second increment or something. And then the rounds are going to be like 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m. Pacific time.
Oh, right, right.
And then
I think
they
I
have some small prizes, and it seems like it's going to be pretty strong.
yeah, if I didn't have a family, I'd be doing it too.
Right.
No, seriously, that does sound fun. Oh, and you know what? I talked to I did this thing with the Charlotte Chess Center today, and you know, I was like, well, what do I got to do to get invited to one of your GM Norm tournaments? And I think that's going to happen maybe
Wow.
sooner than later. And then, yeah, you should go, and then I'll go. Maybe Panda will go, and we'll all get some good tournaments going on. I think that would be fun. Let me show you guys this position here. This has been starting to move a little slower, and I want to say something about this with Quirked and Joel. Joel is Ryobica Jet as black here. That his traditional problem has been time, but he knows this position fairly well. And White, I feel, is dithering with Queen D2, i.e., I don't think Queen D2 really helped him that much. But the problems that Joel is going to have are still what I said before, namely, like, it's hard to put the king somewhere. It's hard to bring the queen onto the attack. But is he better here? I'm going to say yes. I'd much rather be black. But there's some interesting decisions coming up. Like, do we want to play G4? Do we want to play Knight F4? It depends wildly on what White does. And really, it will become one of Kostya's deep calculation exercises. And I say, very soon it's going to be a deep calculation exercise. I've looked at these positions before, and White is going to make some kind of committal decision right now. He's thinking about it. Do I know what he should do? No clue, right? I have no clue what White should do. But very soon, like, Black is going to have to make a judgment call, and it's not going to be simple. For example, if you just want to say bishop d7 in castles, there's two problems. The bishop f7 is very annoying, and the a7 pawn is very annoying.
Right.
So how do you get the rook on a8 involved? Very difficult. And if you just go for it with knight f4, it's probably fine. But like we've said before, like, there's just problems with your other pieces getting involved in that attack. Yeah. All right, now I'm going to show you guys another one. I got it all lined up. Check this out. This is the Vishnu game. I'm going to flip it back from White's perspective. And the Dragdorf is in action. And White, I think, played mostly sensibly here. But it's feeling, I'm going to say, equalish here. What do you think, Kostya?
Equal-ish, but usually when it's equal and one side has a bishop on g7 or a fianchetto bishop and the other side has like a normal bishop, I like the fianchetto bishop in like these simplified positions. Because I feel like at best, okay, White can trade it off, but the bishop is always going to be kind of like exerting its force. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe White just plays c3, bishop h6 quickly and is just going to trade the guy off. But somehow it feels like Black is kind of getting to the d file first here. I don't know what's happening concretely. I mean, there's a rook is hanging in the position and a pawn on c5 is hanging. So,
and also, like, if rook b8, like, I think White has to be at least worried about stuff like c4 and e6.
yeah,
As well as e6. You know, for example, let's say, yeah, it's going to become concrete. So let's say rook b8, c3, and now e6, bishop b3, c4 seems totally fine for Black. But even here, after c4, what do I do? I've got a legitimate question on my hands. I think.
maybe just bishop f4. and then taken f4.
Fair, and then e5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So something like this is like the questions now that it feels like the first glance, right? It feels positional, and then you're like, oh no, there's all kinds of deep calculation that we have to do right away.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, could easily see white losing a piece here very soon.
So let's say that I guess rook d8 might be playable, though I guess no, I'm opposed to it. I'm opposed to rook d8 because of like queen f2. Maybe bishop a8, but that's a little weird.
Rook d8 also bishop f4, bishop e5 we're taking, and bishop f7.
Oh, good. That's also true. Yeah, rook d8 in just general looked bad.
Yeah.
So bishop b7, I might be willing to think that white has a small edge after, say, if bishop b7, let's say snip and c3. Maybe I'm a little better. I can tell you're disagreeing with me. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, let's go rook fd8.
Yeah, that's one.
And c4.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about a4, but before I do any of that, I'm just going to put this guy here.
That's fair. Okay, if anyone is better, it's white, I would say. I'll give you that.
Okay. Now, Nabatone asks, what do I think about a king walk to the queen side? Now, after my mind is losing its mind, he's not talking about this game.
I think he was thinking about the black lion.
Like a king walk to the queen side for white. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's pull that up briefly here. So, white could think about it, but honestly, the queen side is not. The queen side isn't going to be his friend either.
Yeah.
You know, no. In fact, both kings. It's a very like. In fact, from experience of these positions, I can say that both sides will make mistakes, and white just made what I think is a mistake. In fact, I'm certain of it. Is he played DE. And just in general, that's a mistake. And one of the great things actually about these lion positions is that psychologically, white is going to feel the need to do something with the d pawn. And in general, d5 is a mistake because you're blocking your bishop and you're losing contact with e5. And in general, de is a mistake if for no other reason. Well, there's two reasons. One is the d4 pawn is better than d6 pawn, but more importantly, now the bishop on e7 is free. And you know what? I just was making, yeah, the bishop on e1 is free.
So bishop b4 might happen.
It might happen, but honestly, it's just useful later. Like, let's say a knight f4 comes at some point, and you have to take bishop takes f4. Then the bishop c5 is going to come with a vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just squares that you control that are useful. Yeah. So this game, I'll be really happy if Joel wins this. Honestly, we've gone over a lot of games where he's had great positions like this, and they've fallen apart because it does take a lot of skill. Just think about that king on e8, and the bishop on c8 and the rook on a8. Those are three problem pieces that it's hard to know what to do. And here I prophesied something. I said in this position, I'll flip the board. I said, white is going to make some committal decision, and then we're going to figure out what to do. Well, there it was. There's the first committal decision, and now it's white's move again, and he has to come up with something. And it's not easy to know what he should even do. And here's a pro tip for everybody out there. If you're going to play d takes e5, you should know what you're going to do next. You should know what you're going to do next, and Quirk doesn't have any idea.
Right.
Quirk, aka Sam. I'm trying to use people's real names, but sometimes I don't know or don't remember.
Yeah.
Which might be the same thing.
Well, it shows the difficulty of playing these positions. White's plan is not obvious, and when the plan's not obvious, we try to do something concrete, and usually it's just bad.
Yeah. Static, thank you for saying about my shirt. It is the cleanest dirty shirt that I've got at the moment. So any help for my shirt is appreciated. Well, oh man. Okay, wait a sec. We got to go check out Shock Mistale and Counterparts.
Yeah, this game's heating up.
I want to say this is pretty enjoyable, just to go through these different games. You know, I think I've done a lot of commentary in my life, but what I like about this is it's a little bit like it's different than commentating GM games. GM games are fine and everything, but these ones, like, you don't have any idea what's going to happen, and there definitely will be blood on the floor. So, like expected, I said, I wasn't expected, but I said black will have compensation even if he just castles. So that's what he did.
Yeah.
CD, knight d3, bishop g4. I'm going to say that's a good, simple move. Queen d2, bishop d4. I assume bishop b6 was also playable, but this looks okay. And right, it really does look like one of those Bronstein positions where the game is open, very open, and we're going to have a lot of calculation going on, but definitely, like, white has real positional problems to solve for the missing, for his pawn.
Yeah, you know, I feel like some players, it's not really intuitive to them that black has such huge compensation just because it feels like white has no pawn weaknesses. But yeah, development is a problem, and it's just going to be like 2-3 moves before black is like ready to create some threats on the king side, like rook f8, rook c8, and it's like really close. So yeah, definitely the critical position for white, I would say. If he doesn't find something convincing, he can end up in big trouble.
Yeah, I would definitely rather be black here, no question about it.
Yeah, I'm not. It's hard to say what the plan is with the bishop.
And I think I realized recently that I was poisoned by Victor Korchnoi as a child. He came into my house and he poisoned me. He had there was this book I found at the library called Korchnoi's 400 Best Games or something. And he was all just him stealing a pawn and then beating some dude. And no, this is not good chess. This is not what you want to do.
Well, it's not for everybody. Yeah.
Kosi, we got somebody saying they can't hear you that well. Does anyone else have that problem?
Yeah, can we confirm this? I think it's okay. I don't know. I feel like other people would have mentioned something.
Yeah, and Yasser, this is a great story, by the way, with Yasser. One thing I didn't really appreciate until very recently is I was talking to Eugene Perelstein, and he told me I was just looking for books to read. By the way, I'm just pulling up this game with Never and Phenom. And Perelstein was like, oh, you should read Yasser's Chess Duels. So I've been reading that, and what I knew that he had been Korchnoi's second, but I hadn't appreciated just how much he worked with Korchnoi back in the day. This is before the internet, of course, and they're just hanging out in Switzerland playing mammoth blitz sessions, analysis sessions for days on end. And right, that is where Yasser became a materialist through the evil Korchnoi.
Wow.
And so, everybody knows that Yasser is a materialist, and it's poisoned a lot of younger players and just people watching in general, and they think that they should all steal pawns now. But anyways, that comes from you can genetically trace it back to his time with Korchnoi.
That's fascinating.
Okay. So bishop h4. One of my favorite quotes about Yasser, I've hung out with him a bunch in St. Louis, and someone said, this is so funny, is Yasser has a collection of pawns in his basement that he's won.
From famous players
from anybody, he just loves it. Okay, so bishop h4 check. We didn't like this move because it invited the queen in. Okay. Yeah, not good. And black, of course, wants to hurt white. And let's just say the knight on h6 is an opportunist right? It is being dominated at the moment, but it's not hard to imagine some scenario where the knight becomes violent, right? So f5, the violence begins. g5, knight g4. Holy smokes, was this sound?
No, I don't
Well,
think so.
I got question marks about it. Queen f3.
Yeah.
And then Black decided he didn't like it. And so he gave up the knight.
It's too
Oh,
bad.
man. So that went bad. That went south pretty quick. That's why these games are fun. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, this is the thing about like time management. It's like, I mean, Black was spending decent chunks of time already, but on this move knight g4, it's like, okay, spent like not even 2 minutes here. And if White doesn't play queen f3, I mean, it's like,
even if I play queen e2, I'm still doing okay. I'm not sure what your knight's doing there on g4, right?
yeah, I mean, queen e1 might be winning also, just trading and trapping the knight anyway.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
This move, I think Black, like their sense of danger just didn't kick in here. That this knight is just going to be caught. So any number of ways. I think actually after, I don't know if f5 is right, but I feel like Black's position here is quite okay.
Yeah, no, he should be looking to play f6.
f6,
And
yeah.
the only mild drawback with f6 right now is that queen e1 would trade the queens. And so you want to be a little bit careful about that. So let's say Black has several interesting ideas here, and at some point he should be thinking about playing c4 with the notion that dc will be met by bishop a6. And on a practical level, the simplest thing for Black to do here is just frickin' castle. Just castle, buddy. You don't worry about anything else.
Yeah, I would think either castles, or I would also consider like queen e7 and or maybe queen d8 actually, and then dropping back like knight g8 and h5.
Oh my god, Kosik, come on, you're killing me.
I think we have time for it. I don't know. I don't see what White is doing.
Well, you got to be careful. You got to be careful about the dynamic thing in White's favor. Is you got to be careful about the c5 square. If I can get a piece to the c5 square like a knight, then I'm gonna have reasonable play. Like the simple plan would be that where the reason why Black has to be quick about it is like b3, bishop a3, knight a4. You got to worry about that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, no, I agree. I think castles and just playing f6.
Yeah, and maybe even f6
Knight
directly.
f7. I mean, even in this line, do you really think the endgame is so bad? Like, what if we just go...
No, I don't think it's that bad. And maybe knight f7 first, too. Because if you take, then he can go bishop f4.
Yeah, I was thinking even there, like, you know, g5, h5.
Good. Yeah.
Just like...
Totally plausible. Yeah.
But knight f7 also... So clearly the position was playable. It was definitely like kind of unforced error.
And honestly, here, even knight f... Well, I don't know where your knight's going to go after f7. But even knight... No, the problem with knight f7 too is like bishop d2 creates this gnarly bishop... No, it's not a threat. Bishop e1 is not a threat because of f4. But anyways, I'm just a little worried about...
Queen f3, yeah. Bishop e1.
I'm a little worried. But Black, even here, maybe there's some way to get h6 working. All right, anyways, I think that is toast. I'm going to call that toast. And, I think let's look at Rosewood here. I think just on a superficial level, I'm not thrilled with what happened for White. But let me give it a second look. So, we were talking about this system that I was advocating, and I liked this for White, and I left it as being not entirely clear about what White should do here. But I'm not thrilled with bishop. I'm not thrilled with White's next two moves, bishop d2 and rook c1. How significant is it? I'm not sure, honestly. But basically, I want White to be playing on the queen side, king side, and not on the queen side. But let's look at this. Bishop d2, let's give it a pass. Let's just pretend it's okay. Knight f5, and right away I can say knight f5 is problematic because g4 is a nice move for white.
Yeah.
And the thing that white players should understand is that because your strong side is the king side, you don't need to worry about weaknesses on the king side. You can worry a little bit, but you don't have to worry nearly as much as in, say, your queen side, which you really don't want to weaken because that's all black is dreaming about. It's a French players to penetrate some weak squares on the
Right.
queen side. Now that said, with rook ac1, black still has to be very cautious. And he could play h5, and that would stop g4, but it comes with the consequence of permanently weakening the g5 square.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
worth it.
You think h5 is worth it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, g4 is going to be such a bummer if you get hit with it. You better be thinking about it in any case. Actually, another move that you could do for black, this is a very clever French move, is just to play bishop e7 so that you can meet g4 with knight h4.
True. Yeah, this is always, and then we're happy to trade off these knights, and eventually white gets overextended.
You do have to always calculate. You got to do deep Costia calculation here with this kind of position. In general, though, it's not going to work out for white to be fancy pants like this.
Yeah.
But it's something you just got to worry about. Okay, good games.
Yeah, the more I look at this one, more I just feel like black is going to be slowly taking over. Like rook c4 is coming, a6, bishop b5, and yeah, it just feels like white is just kind of playing solid. Not really going for the king side as much as he should be.
Now, Vishnu, on the other hand, made a decision that kind of surprises me. Maybe let's get your take on it. So after bishop d5, dude played rook a7. And I'm going to say that strikes me as wrong.
And I want to say I like Mitch's time management here. Last time we roasted him for playing too quickly in such a sharp position. Here he has like relatively quiet position and is spending, several minutes every move, even if the move is kind of obvious to him at first, but showing more of an effort. So happy to see it.
Scott and Dora are asking about Yasser, and the one interesting thing about that is, I had a birthday kind of recently, and I'm getting closer to the 50 move mark. 50 move rule. I'm getting closer to the 50 move rule. And, last year I did commentary at the U.S. Senior Championship. And, if Yasser was going to play in any tournament, I think it'd be that one. It's a really cool event. And last time he didn't. And so, yeah, I think if he's going to play an event, that would be it. So that's kind of an interesting question mark for him. For all of us old guys, like one of the problems, especially if you're like a very public figure like Yasser is, we're all suffering with cognitive decline, and we're just going to be blundering some obvious stuff. So it hurts to have your blunders broadcast so openly.
Yeah.
Right? It really is a problem. So that's one of the issues that all of us have when we're trying to play chess as older people.
Yeah, he's such a legend, and of course his games are going to be like publicized and watched, and yeah, I'm sure when you are just like at such a high level, you just kind of feel kind of disgusted if you have like some simple blunder that is inevitable, just
right.
Due to the nature of the game. But I remember him playing in like the Olympiad a couple of years ago and like rocking Mamedyarov and Polgar. I mean, those games were huge.
Fallen New Jersey, so I can blame my bad play on cognitive decline. Well, I think when you get older, it's like it's gonna happen. Now you can't blame everything, and there are things you can do to mitigate. You can mitigate your cognitive decline a little bit, and I think the dream of an older dude, as I'm trying to do this myself, is when you look at guys like that have played deep into their older years, like Smyslov, Anand, Korchnoi, what they were able to accomplish was, it's not necessarily that they got better, but they deepened their play and changed their way of playing to deal with some of the grief that they were having. Right? It's just amazing. For example, when you consider Anand right now over 50, playing still well over 2700 level chess with these kids that can memorize variations like it's just nobody's business. I mean, it is a huge feat when someone's able to do that.
Yeah, I feel like with Anand, I mean, of course he grew up as being known as this really sharp attacking player, but in the last couple of years he seems like such a technician to me, just always like grinding out these end games against Nepo and like MVL, and that's just how he's using his edge and experience. So it's really interesting.
Do you know this book 1D4? Keep It Simple 1D4?
Yeah, I just saw the question. So yeah, this book from Chessable, from Chess Explained. In general, I think like he's a really good instructor and presenter. I feel like he understands chess at a really deep level. I think when it comes to his opening courses, it's more of whether he'll fit your style or not. So if you want like to play G3 against everything, I think that's kind of the repertoire. Then it's definitely a good one. But if you're looking for like aggressive lines or like variety, then you know it might not be the right positions for you. So I feel like people should be kind of choosing based on which openings they want to learn rather than who they want to learn from.
All right, Jose, I got a question for you, buddy. We're gonna do. I might need your help to do some deep calculation.
All right.
Okay, so Mitch in this position played the very natural. First of all, Rook A7 just totally looks wrong to me. Mitch played the very rational-looking C3, but what would have happened on Queen F2 is my question. What does Black do? I'm assuming he was afraid of Bishop B2, so let's just look at that first, right?
Yeah.
Bishop C5. Bishop A1. I don't know what else you want, right? And then there's a couple moves, but the one that scares me most is Rook A1.
Yeah.
And I think you got to play like Rook B7. Now maybe I've got this all wrong. This is why I need your deep calculation. But this position, just on the surface of it, looks poor for Black because the bishop on B7 is far less active than the bishop on the dark square. Maybe I'm wrong with that. Maybe like our bishop is going to end up poor. Our dark square bishop, that is. But just on the surface of things, this looks like a very positive position for White.
Definitely looks better. Oh, and we're getting a raid from Chess in Quarantine.
All right.
Which is ChessDojo student, aka Weak Chess.
Totally cool. Yeah. Oh, did you see Weak Chess's her song, dude?
No, I didn't actually.
She's got some great chess songs, and they're pretty cool, man. Yeah.
Oh, I should check that out.
Yeah, she posted on the Twitch, and she's got like a SoundCloud thing. Totally cool.
Ah, nice.
And she's playing in our tournament. Maybe someday she's gonna play in one of these Sunday night fights.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of her games yet during the stream.
So the way things actually worked out was C3, Bishop E7, and then we got a snip, and Rook AD1. And let's say that it feels like a pretty stable advantage for Mitch here.
Yeah, now it looks really nice for White, just controlling the file.
And you were talking smack earlier about, well, I think when the bishop is on G7, you like Black better. But yeah, this is...
Yeah, no, I mean, if we put rooks on C and in D8, then I kind of like Black. But...
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. This position will be interesting to see both players, how they deal with this. I think Vishnu is not used to defending a worse position. And Mitch, pretty solid player too, so I'm sure mistakes will be made on both sides. Black has to come up basically right now with a strategy of how he wants to meet this situation. And one of the challenges here is just to identify what White's threats are, right? Clearly he has an optically beautiful position, but it's not totally clear what white actually wants to do, right? It's not totally clear what he wants to do. And I think, by the way, there was a strong argument to be made for white to have played rook fd1 so that the a rook would be available for meeting b4 stuff with a rook c1, like cb, rook c1, and also to just have the ability to play a4 if we want to.
Right.
We don't have to, but it just seems like that rook would be more, give white more potential ideas than on f1. Whereas on f1, I don't think we're going to play f4. Like, I don't want to play f4, so I might as well move that rook away from f1, is my feeling on it.
So yeah, I was thinking maybe black goes bishop e5 in this position just to try to get some, provoke some weakness.
Yeah.
But I definitely see the point of using the f rook.
Well, how about I take us to Shock Masteo? We're going to see if the compensation is going.
Oh boy. I see a lot of flying knights.
You see a lot of lion knights?
Flying knights.
Oh, flying knights, that's right. So we left it around here. Bishop g4. Maybe knight takes d3 is a mistake, in fact, because it allows this bishop g4 thing. Knight b5, the flying knights, here we go. Here, here, oh my god, it's true. We have a real mess on our hands. Now the good news for black is white's not really threatening anything. Like, if he takes on d8, we want the rook in anyway. If he takes on g4, we kind of want the knight on f6 in anyway. So I'm just going to assume that black has some move here.
Oh no, he's trading and going bishop e2.
What do you mean he's trading and going bishop e2?
Trading on d2 here.
Oh, with even that. Well, there you go. White's position was already really funky. Yeah, it was already really funky. And then the only question now is, does white have some way to give up the exchange and somehow be alive?
No, I don't see anything.
I don't see it really either. It makes sense too that something wrong is going to happen when you're doing the flying knights variation. Right?
Loose pieces drop off.
Yeah, loose pieces drop off, and that's indeed what happened. I kind of even thought, wasn't even looking at trading the queens, but like even rook e8 there, I thought black was fine.
Yeah.
Shock Masteo pulled that together. I thought that whole thing with d5 was nice. I think it was, I don't know if it was preparation, but he kind of clearly knew the feel of the position. And one reason I brought up that Bronstein book earlier is I looked at that book years ago and I was like, this is just the kind of chess that Jesse doesn't play.
Right.
Like, very concrete, very sometimes weird lines that go on forever. A lot of times a pawn sack like this, where there's nothing structural about it. It's just like time, right? Black had time is what he had, and the active pieces.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Well, nice game from black. Yeah, definitely showing some good e4, e5 understanding. I feel like, let's see, Quirked is in the tank.
Quirked played rook ed1. Yeah, he's clearly at a loss about what to do. But let's pull that up, actually, because this, I think, is now what I said. I said white will make some kind of committal decision, and then Joel is going to have to play, Joel, who is Ryobica Jet as black, is going to have to make some kind of deep calculation. And let me just reiterate the problems. They're very clear. The queen on c7 needs to somehow find a way to the king. The bishop on c8 is a beautiful attacking piece, but it doesn't have a natural home, right? The rook on a8 wants to get in, but also doesn't have a natural home.
Is this really so hard? What about just g4 takes and bishop takes?
Totally plausible. Let's just mention some of the ideas that black could do. He could play g4. He could play knight f4. He could play bishop d7. And also, when you play g4 hg, you could play both knight takes g4 and bishop takes g4. Bishop takes g4 looks pretty good, though I assume then bishop e2 after that, and we still have questions.
Right.
So, right, this is deep calculation where Joel has flubbed this in the past, and I get it. Like, it's actually like, it's not easy. So I'm hoping that Joel, he's up an amazing amount of time, almost 40 minutes. And so I've tried to coach him actually in positions like this. I'm like, dude, this is the moment where go ahead and feel free to spend 20 minutes if you need to. I
totally agree. Because he really actually hasn't even had to think yet.
Right, it's all just this setup that he's done. And if you're ever going to do an advertisement for the Lion, this is it, right? Yeah. This is it. This is your advertisement right here.
True. Clip this moment, guys. Send it to Ginger GM for his next ad. I think this is actually very much in the spirit, like bishop d7, and then if white continues to do nothing, rook g7, and then castle. And just slowly get out. Even then, the a7 pawn is a problem. So,
Dora, I do know that line, and yeah, that's right. My cam has been dying. I'm sorry, guys. You know what I think?
Oops.
You know, if you have a recommendation, you got a cam recommendation for me. I need a cam.
What are you using right now?
Oh, it's this Logitech thing that I've had for a while. I think it's upset with me. It gets upset, and then it turns off. And on the stream, it just died again. On the stream yesterday, my OBS crashed as well. So I've been having a real run of bad luck with my technology. Anyways, it's on for the moment.
Yeah. It'd be nice to get some nice cameras.
Yeah, I want some nice cameras. And the other thing is, you know, when I do the videos, I have this big, fat, nice microphone. But for a lot of situations, you know, I don't want anything that fancy. I just want something I can maybe clip onto my shirt or something. So I'm looking maybe something else for that. Let me ask you this, because I'm going to talk to Joel about this position tomorrow, and we're going to get your input here. Do you feel like, how big is white's trouble, and what is your first instinct for black? Like, I assume it's g4, but yeah, take a look at it again. What do you think we should do here in this position?
Yeah, my main moves would be g4 and definitely knight f4. Like, strategically, knight f4 makes sense to me, because then, okay, that we're just improving the knight, and then if white takes on f4, g takes f4. As long as concretely we're not losing to something there, like knight e5 or I don't know, something like that, then that seems nice. Like bishop c5, the g file is going to be open, and I'm just discussing this position.
Right.
But okay, like once we play bishop c5, that's exactly where knight takes e5 becomes like a huge concern. So this definitely isn't like a cakewalk, but I would certainly be interested. Maybe just bishop d7 following up this way. And now we can castle without worrying about the a pawn, which is nice.
Exactly, and that's why bishop d7 now is also a possibility.
Yeah, this move is very flexible. Definitely a blitz move to just put some pressure on your opponent and be like, well, I'm not doing anything, so you have to find the move again.
And also with knight f4, also bishop d7, it also introduces the idea of queen c8, which is another way for black to get his queen in. And again, that's the main problem. On knight f4, I think if white takes on f4, we got to say black is doing great. But if he leaves it there, that would be my question mark. Like, and then I got to ask myself, well, what is he going to do, and then what after that?
Well, try to set up sacrifices on h3, or even on g2, followed by some g4. Actually, I'm not really seeing exactly what white does here, because on bishop g4, bishop e2, we could take and go knight h4.
Okay, let's look at this position. Let's say queen e2.
Um,
Not immediately obvious to me.
yeah. Hold on. I also don't know what white is doing, so maybe I don't have to do.
I'm gonna play G3 next move. I'll play
G3.
G3, Bishop H1, if you let me.
Okay. Well, then maybe I go like H5.
Okay. That makes sense to me. Okay. Possible. I just want to say, if I was looking at this position in my mind's eye from here, I would feel like that position's loose and I'm not sure exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't feel like I would be asking why do I want this from this position. So we can kind of wait for a better moment.
And he did play G4. He didn't, and it's funny because he didn't think that long on it. And
well, I mean, his 10 minutes is longest think of the game.
Fair enough.
Not too long though. Yeah. Definitely, he had more time to spend.
So yeah, let's consider this. Pawn takes. Let's say bishop takes. I think knight takes is totally plausible too. But bishop takes is nice just because we do want to develop that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop E2. I assume that's it, right? I don't know what else we're gonna do when it's not bishop E2.
Yeah,
right?
It has to be bishop E2. And then maybe black should have some options here, even like H5.
Yeah, let's say we've got a lot, in fact. We've got knight F4, we've got rook D8, we've got knight H5. We've got a lot. We've got your move, bishop F3. We've got a lot of moves.
Right.
And Quirked is running. He's going to run into the hectic time pressure. And one funny thing about this, Kostya, is as I was giving this big speech about doing some deep calculation here, and I think that's mostly true. However, at a certain level, this might just be a gut call, right? Because knight F4 is also like a psychological move, because you're saying, okay, if you take, I know I'm better, but I also don't clearly know what you're going to do. I just feel like, oh, this has got to be the right place for the knight.
Well, if we're not worried about bishop takes F4, then I would feel like knight F4 is the right move, 100%.
Well, bishop F4, it's like then this bishop on E7 becomes a monster. He's dreaming about stuff like this.
Yeah.
And what would your fear be? Like king H2? Possible, I guess. Possible to fear that.
Right, I would be worried that maybe I don't have enough to break through.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah. I think maybe even something like that was his concern. Haha. Okay. We're getting some good games now. G4, and Quirked is thinking about it, which is a bad sign because you got to take that thing, right?
Sometimes you don't. I mean, usually the only other move you have here is like a knight H4, knight F5, but that's not possible.
Yeah, we don't even have that. So yeah, I guess he's thinking about knight H2 with just pure suffering.
He wants to self-destruct like this or something.
Yeah.
He's considering it. Probably he'll end up just taking.
Right.
I mean, it's a little disrespectful. Your opponent plays 10 minutes to just take immediately, right? You have to. You have to think about it. Do you not go by that rule? If your opponent spends time on their move, you shouldn't respond immediately. Is that just Russian culture?
That's interesting. I have real questions, Kostya, for your relationship to Russian culture. I mean, if he thinks long about it, I mean, no, you got to take that thing. That thing's got to go. I mean, let's just say this. If you play knight H2, you know that you're objectively lost, and you're just trying to hold on for dear life, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think Nepo respects that rule.
Well, we have a really interesting transformation in the Rosewood game.
All right. Whoa. All right, let me pull that up. While I'm pulling that up, Costa, have you ever had some Russian chess coaches for yourself?
Kind of. I'll tell you who I worked with. I worked with a Kobian for a long time.
Oh,
He's definitely like kind of Soviet chess school. And then I worked with Coach Armin as well on Bartumian.
right.
So they.
Oh yeah, you got. I don't know what you're talking about with Russian. Those guys are Armenian, buddy. I don't know. They'd be offended. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, Armin, he works with like Dvoretsky and all those guys. So I don't know what he considers himself. They're definitely both Armenian coaches and players, but
Right.
I definitely got some Armenian chess school. That's for sure.
Right. No, that's great. Yeah, this is pretty interesting. White's got a big choice here. So this was because you grew up in like Southern California with those guys, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense to me. I'm gonna say White should be better here, but this is it's gonna get spicy. Like, I'm assuming Knight B5 is White's best move. Let me just try Knight B5. There might be other moves for White. Actually, there's no big rush either, because Knight E5 I can just play Bishop A7. But I am okay. You have to deal with D4.
I just want to go back a couple moves. So Black just went for this Rook C4 and takes. This was not a blunder or coerced in any way. This was just like fully intentional, and the endgame too.
Well, this is French culture, man. You sack the exchange. That's what you do. It's part of the deal.
It's really interesting. I think it was totally unnecessary. I feel like I remember having French games where maybe I had an option to sack the exchange. I chose not to and lost. And then afterwards I would analyze with a Kobe and he'd be like, yeah, just give the exchange, just play this position. And we'd play it out in analysis, and he'd win every time down the exchange. And then that's how I slowly started to understand, like, oh yeah, there's some practical value here.
I do think actually one of the key differences with the Armenian school versus, say, the Russian school is the Armenian school practices the exchange sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to Petrosian and yada yada. But I've played those guys so many times. Malik, I've played so many games. Var, I've played a lot of games. Armin, I played. All those guys, once I realized that in every single position they were thinking about the exchange sacrifice, my life became easier. I was like, oh, I understand these people's soul now. I understand what's going on.
That's funny. Yeah, VAR definitely influenced my French and repertoire for quite some time.
Right. Oh yeah, that's really interesting. Okay, so yeah, pretty. One thing I'll say about this position, this exchange sack, is even though I think White is better, Black has a lot of defensive resources here.
Yeah.
And White needs a good move now. And I'm not totally sure exactly how this is supposed to go down either. Like, for example, on my Knight B5 move,
Mm-hmm.
what if Black just plays A6? Let's say Knight D4. Let me just guesstimate this for a second. So Knight E5, Rook C7. Looks very positive on the first blush.
Yeah. Seems nice for White. What would you think about Knight D6 back here?
Totally plausible. Maybe even better. Yeah. And one thing maybe White could consider Black could consider is on Knight B5 to throw in Bishop B4. But I don't know if that really changes all that much.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, Knight B5 looks good, and my sense is something like clear advantage for White.
And if Knight E5, then is Knight C7 just winning here?
Going off again. Part of the drama is that usually in these positions you're going to have the compensation if your rook is involved, bro, but your rook isn't involved.
Yeah.
It's kind of a serious problem. Yeah. Okay.
Alex Lenderman, no, I mean he's a big French player in Caro-Kann, but he's a very clear student of the Georgi Kashashvili school.
Right. That's absolutely right. He is in fact a disciple.
Yeah.
He is a disciple of the Georgi Kashashvili school.
A true disciple, right? Which is what we're trying to achieve with ChessDojo.
I think we're a little bit mellower. I think we're a little mellower than that kind of disciple. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Let's do an update with Vishnu and Mitch. Pretty fun here. And
yeah, this is now petering out. This is getting into like 2800 draw level.
Who's petering out?
I think this is petering out into a draw. I think black is just trading everything off.
I get this game is not going to go to a draw. First of all, one thing about this b4 move. This is a good point to say that the rook on f1 would have been nicer because I could then think about rook c1 stuff. Okay, but here we go. b3, a5, and maybe we have an interesting dispute about the draw. I definitely don't feel like black is there yet. But white, by all means, needs a good move right now.
Yeah, I just see black playing a4 against everything, and yeah, I'm not seeing it for white.
All right, let me just play the first things that come to my mind. I definitely think white has more than one move here. Let's say queen d7.
Sure.
That looks unpleasant.
Okay, I'll take and go c4.
Mm-hmm. Bishop c5.
Can I do this one?
Interesting. That'd be interesting. So what is going on? This one's already giving me the mind meld over here. It feels like maybe you can do this. So let's just show it out. So here, you want to do this thing, right?
Yeah.
If I play bishop e7, I assume you're just going to play like rook a8. Or maybe rook b8.
Right, rook b8.
But let's say I go all the way back. Are you really giving me the business?
Oh. Hold on, maybe rook e8 then?
Okay. Whatever you do, white, do not play rook a7. Oh, whatever you do, don't play rook a7. How about rook d1 still?
Mm-hmm.
So then I'll play here.
Oh, wait, you tricked me.
Oh,
I didn't know we were playing with tricks, so.
Well, I want to play rook d1.
Okay, so then this is looking like pawn up for white.
Right, and maybe it could be like here, exactly here, 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 and theory says that this is a draw, but it's actually I'm going to call this in my practical experience. This is a clear advantage for white.
Yeah, definitely like serious chances there. Yeah.
By the way, I want to announce that Years ago, I tried reading Practical Rook Endgames by Korchnoi, and I found it too difficult, but that was kind of before I took on my endgame journey. So one of my projects is to go through that very difficult book. And I'm just announcing it publicly so that I'll be committed to it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I watched your latest show, and a lot of the openings you mentioned are like stuff I'm interested in as well, like the Grunfeld Endgame and the King's Indian positions. What would you think about a format where you're like, maybe we're going through games or something, and you're working with your physical board, and I'm kind of doing the demo board for the online audience?
Yeah, I can imagine all kinds of stuff. Like what? I got my normal board, and then you're like talking to people, and I'm like watching the screen at the same time.
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
like
I mean, because I feel like, when I go through games, I enjoy a lot more if I can move physical pieces, and I'm sure you do too.
Right.
But for the sake of the stream, yeah, I would just be handling the virtual board, and then, if you want to do like some opening analysis and you want to just look at the position on your own, right? Like not with like an engine or reference or something, and we could set up some kind of format like that, and then we would just talk it out.
Yeah, for sure. And I really think something I have a hard time doing myself, but I know that it really, in terms of opening study, it's the thing that's helped me the most, is what I used to do back in the day, and I need to do more of it, is I would just pick some opening variation, and then instead of turning on the computer, just print out the frickin' games and go over them, and those games would be full of mistakes when you turn on the computer, but they would give you a lot of interesting ideas and themes in terms of like what's going on in the position.
I think that's one of the biggest things when you're trying to understand like a new opening, is just looking at games and just seeing like, how do players win from this position? Like what happens? Are they playing h4 h5 and opening the h file? Are they playing against a certain weakness? Like just getting an idea of your winning strategy.
Right.
This Rook B7, this was a suggestion from Icy Stun in the chat, which definitely
by the
looks
way,
like a solid move. Yeah.
And Queen D7 was played, but let's just say with Rook B7, it's clear that there's some suffering involved here. Like there will be suffering now.
Yeah, now it's definitely, I don't know, I just feel like these positions, they often like just, I think White needs to continue playing like GM strength to like to keep the advantage.
So let's just make a couple obvious moves. There might be, let's say, snip, snap, and Rook D5.
So here I would want to play C4. This would be my
good.
first.
I think that's correct. I think it's correct. And then you can argue, and I think I'm on your side here, that Black has enough play.
Right.
I think in fact you're just fine because your Rook is so active, and my Rook on A5 is dumb. So Rook B7.
Maybe White can take and go Rook C1.
Yeah, I mean, I think White has more than one move. I think Black's in a little bit of grief here, and I'm just going to play Rook C2 and Rook FC1 and King F2.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you have all kinds of plans like Rook A8 and A4, and you can always plan to sack a pawn and go into a worse ending where you're going to claim you can hold.
Yeah, so A4 here would definitely be a consideration.
Right.
Maybe something like this takes, and then I don't like Rook A8 because of Rook C4, but maybe it's just C4 and like trying to play Rook A8.
And the really basic move too would just be Rook C5.
Yeah. Then
or better.
This seems like it just comes down to tempos, but it looks like if we're holding on to the pawn, then okay, it's just just pawn up.
I think this will be an interesting challenge for Vishnu. I've never seen him in a slightly worse position. The guy, not in this kind of position. He's had a lot of weird positions where like his attack, like a lot of attacking players, what they have to deal with is their position just gets freaky. and maybe they're just totally lost, but then they got to deal with that kind of bad position. But this is a particular kind of bad position that I associate with Soviets. I associate this with Soviets.
Interesting. Maybe that's why I feel comfortable here. I don't know.
Maybe queen e5 too in this position for black. There's definitely, this is a moment to take some time and think about it.
Yeah. Actually, I like both players' time management, because Vishnu usually spends too much time when he's not sure what to do. But here he seems to be okay. I mean, maybe he didn't play best, but I think what he did, like a5, is totally reasonable, and he's not super low. And Mitchell probably saw the move queen d7 like super fast, but still spent 10 minutes on it, even though it's kind of a simple position. I feel like last week's Mitch would have just played like rook c1 instantly or something, and, and then c4, and like game would have been drawn.
Okay, guys, we got Joel has his position. If he loses this one, he's gonna be crying to me tomorrow when we do our lessons. So we got to check this out.
Wow, bishop takes h6.
Desperation clearly is a man of desperation. Bishop h6, and I just assume there's something winning here. But I just want to stress the problem is that White can say he's not mated yet because the queen on c7 isn't part of the attack yet. This
we
looks
can say that, but after bishop takes f3, I don't know what the answer is.
Nabatone was actually saying at some point earlier, he was like, is it going to be possible for the white king to run to the queen side? And at least that's got to be the dream if bishop f3. That's got to be White's only dream here. This looks horrendo.
But it just looks like we're just taking on f3 and...
Well, okay, let's do your deep calculation.
Yeah. No,
so
I mean,
what?
I'll do it from here.
Okay, fine. Oh, I have to. Maybe at some point we can crawl up that position. I'll tell you some of my own experience with it.
Oh yeah, no, I totally want to hear it, because like, I mean, it was the game for me, so it's like my experience is what I found relevant to the position, but it's hard to look at it fresh and think like, oh yeah. So I'm always worried about that I'm gonna ignore some kind of like super obvious line, never even bring it up. It's always the fear, especially when you prepare something with an engine. It's like, rook might be hanging in the position and you don't even notice, but there's some reason why it's not actually hanging, and it's like totally relevant. Okay, so here my first instinct would be like bishop to f3, knight h4 check, then I guess king f1.
King f1, right? And the question is it over? Let's just look if it's, in fact, I think it's going to be over, but let's just look. So bishop f3, check to the miserable king. There's no, I just can't imagine anything. I mean, king h1 is just really hard for me to imagine.
Yeah, just queen c8, I mean, it's just resigned.
Yeah, okay, so king f1, black has a lot of different moves here.
Right, we have knight f3, knight d4, we have queen c8.
Oh man, knight f3, yeah. There's rook g1.
Rook g1.
But on king e2, I don't know what we're doing after king e2, but okay, so just mention it. What I like about queen c8 is we do want to bring the lady in, but the variation will be queen c8, king e2, and then we got to have a follow-up, say, after queen h3 or something. Knight f3, d4 is really pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's simple. We also have like rook d8 we can throw in, but and there's like rook h8 coming at some point. It's like,
check this out. Even here, we've got knight f3 here as well.
Yeah, queen g4.
Nota bene, we're gonna have bishop c5 check in a lot of these positions, and I said earlier that bishop would be important. This has got to be over.
It's a weird thing. I mean, I understand why it was under a lot of pressure, of course, but like, isn't there other moves other than bishop takes h6? Like, there's no... I mean, if you're okay with this one, at least play like king f1 here or something. Like,
clearly he's not okay. He's not okay. Right, and it is really kind of bizarre when you think about it. I guess the reasons to take that frickin' pawn have to be something like he saw some variation where the h-pawn was strong. He saw some variation maybe where you could put a piece on g5.
Right. Setting up knight g5, bishop f7.
And then maybe he had the Russian dictum in his head. It's like, if you're going to suffer, you might as well get a pawn for it.
Yeah. I mean, I think, Armenian school, if they didn't see anything, just knight h2. And like, yeah, let's just play this position.
Oh, well said. Yeah. Really well said.
And I bet he has better chances here, than in the game.
And let's just say the bummer here is on rook d8. You don't want to trade your rook, but still, something like this, I'm totally with you. You gotta just give it up. That's right.
Well, the black lion doing good. Bishop f3 on the board, so he didn't talk himself out of it.
And let me just say this. I want to say one of the things that
hold up. Sorry.
What
we got a bomb on the board. Knight b5. Maybe this was the plan.
Oh, wow. That was the plan. That was the plan. Dang. Now, I don't believe it for like 1 second.
Yeah, not even close.
But let's consider it. Let's promote this line.
Yeah, gotta give him props.
And let me just hope that now Joel at least has some good time to think about this. I want to tell a story about Joel here for just a second.
Sure.
This is not going to work, by the way. I can tell you right now. But the story I want to tell is, like myself and Vishnu, is an older dude trying to make progress. It's very difficult. I've just realized now how difficult it is, both in my own personal experience and watching others, Joel being one of them, Vishnu being another guy too. And, I'm sure he missed knight b5. I would have missed it too. Part of your deep calculation, though, is like just being aware that white's going to have to try something like knight b5.
Yeah.
And part of the deal, too, is that knight on c3 has been miserable forever. So at the very least, you want to think about something wild like this,
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like, you see this position and you see knight b5 and you're like, wow, where did this come from? But if you look at the childhood of this knight just living on c3 the whole game, then suddenly it all makes sense, just needed to be involved in the game.
Well, right, it's the Paul Morphy knight versus the evil duke going to b5.
Yeah.
In that game, he took the pawn on b5, but still, it's a similar thing.
Now, do
you remember?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was saying also, remember that move knight b5? It's mildly similar in a game that I covered from the member analysis session last time around. It was amazing knight b5, some IM against like a 2,000 player.
Oh, I think I did see that.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was a nice one. Yeah, I wonder if there was part of his idea with bishop h6, or if, because Joel thought for like 8 minutes on bishop takes f3, if he realized he's just busted here, and then came up with this as a, kind of a bluff, semi-bluff.
I will say this, Quirked is a man who loves the madness. I know I've gone over a couple games of his now. He loves the madness, and I'm certain now that was part of his idea. It doesn't make... We were we're a little bit to blame, too, for not dreaming up knight b5, because we were looking at bishop h6, and we had the earnest question. We're like, well, dude, what does he want? What does he even want with bishop h6? Okay, so let's think about it for a second. Just on the first glance assumption is that queen d7 is winning, queen c8 is winning, queen b8 is winning, queen d8 is winning. Now that's probably one of those is probably not winning, but the first glance says that all those are winning.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if, like, maybe they're all good. Queen d8 is the only one This is kind of weird. My last choice because white moves the queen and we get this tempo.
Right.
Queen c8, queen b8 look supernatural to me. I guess queen d7 kind of same issue, but at least with queen d7.
Let me ask a question about queen d7. Queen d7, queen c3. Yeah. You can't play queen g4, buddy.
Right.
There's no queen g4 for you.
I think we just take on d1 here, right?
Oh, that's unfortunately simple.
Yeah, but maybe
that's unfortunately simple.
Maybe queen e1, huh? Same.
I mean, we could still take on d1.
Yeah, we take once, but then we have to avoid queen g4 again. Good luck with that. But then it's like, okay, why didn't we just play queen c8?
But this way, we got rid of we won the knight on f3, and then we won the exchange. So we are up, some significant cash here.
Yeah, free rolling.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
But Queen C8 looks much cleaner.
I like them both. I thought Queen D. Yeah, I mean, I like them both.
Oh, I also like Queen B8 for the reason that if White tries Knight D6, then we're guaranteed to trade queens there.
Well, right. Let's just briefly ask about this Queen C8. So the drama might be Knight D6.
Yeah.
That might be the drama,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So let's say snip, snip. Queen G4 is what I'm terrified of. That's hard to imagine we're gonna live through that one.
Well, I mean, I'm just not 100% sure, We got burned
Right.
once already.
Right, we did get burned once. I don't know. It looks horrendo here.
But I don't see the mate, so yeah. Scary though, but this is doable for black. I don't think it's too difficult to calculate this. And
with bishop f7, I think we just play king f7, and on
Right.
queen c7, we can play knight e7.
yeah,
Yeah.
everything kind of runs out.
Desperado, why don't you come to your senses? I could have been a singer. Maybe Weak Chess could give me some singing lessons. And really, I just want to sing Desperado well. That's all I ever really wanted to sing well.
Yeah, that should be the chess song. Desperado.
That's right. Oh, I'm really... So anyways, what I was going to say about Joel is, Joel's been struggling to make 2,000 USCF. It's been a major struggle. And if he won this game, I feel like Quirked is like a legitimate 2,200 player.
Yeah,
The guy he's dangerous too. He can come up with some, like this. He's going to throw some stuff at you. So I think this would be a huge achievement to win this with black. And it's not over yet. And I'm glad, he should. This is definitely where you want to double check and triple check your business here before you move.
Right.
Vishnu's still thinking after Queen D7. Counter Sparks looks like he's just lost. Well, but let's pull that up real quick and just to make sure how that is, because we had the win of the exchange, and then we gotta ask ourselves if it's truly over. So let's see, where was Bishop E2? Bishop E2 is right in here. White played A4. Oh, see, he's living. He's living. But he's not dead yet. He's not dead yet. Oh. Well, let's just admire that Shock Masteo is not winning this outright yet.
I don't know. I feel like he's just kind of gradually simplifying.
Okay, I'm mostly with you. I'm just saying before he was completely winning.
Oh, do you think he had like something just concrete and could have ended the game?
Well, that was just my intuition. Maybe I'm wrong about it, but like after A4, it seemed like there should have been something more concrete than the way it went down here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe like rook E8 first and then something, but
like, yeah, rook AD8 looks pretty interesting too here. Rook AD8 looks, yeah. Anyways,
something, right?
Because you're allowing this A5, then you're going to allow this F3 thing, and again maybe knight E5. Okay, so here we go. Rook E1, rook AD8, and the simple thing I'll say is, well, no, there's nothing simple about it. Black wants to play rook D1 to trade off the rooks, and that is a legitimate concern for white. But there's some tricks in this position right here, right? Like bishop D6 is a move.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know how good bishop e6 is. Maybe you just go knight e6 or something. But
Yeah.
anyways,
I don't know. It just feels strategically like white has very few trumps here for the exchange. So I don't know. I think black's advantage is like just super stable.
no, I think that's fair. All I'm saying is that after bishop e2, it was like one of those positions you might resign, and this position I'd never resign.
Yeah. Probably he missed something more concrete. So not great that he has like an hour on his clock, and maybe he could have ended the game sooner. Yeah, actually, no. Looking at the speed of his last like 5 moves is not good. I mean, he played the game so well up until this point, but I think he just kind of assumed the position like wins itself, but that's not right. I think he could have worked a little bit harder earlier and then saved himself a lot of work now.
I think Countersparks has definitely a major decision here. Like, he's either clearly worse or losing, but he has practical chances. And, you know, rook d1 is definitely like the strategic idea for black. So white could say, screw it, I'll suffer with knight takes a7, but maybe my pieces have some interesting squares down there. Or you find some other way to deal with the position. Like, I don't think knight d6 or bishop d6 actually do anything, but they're kind of interesting.
Well, we've got g3, knight e6.
Oh, that's what happened. I'm not sure that helped white.
Yeah.
Because rook d1 is still like a major deal.
And I think rook d2 as well. Just winning the game.
One interesting thing I got out of the training sessions, I've seen this in other things before, but something that I feel GMs and IMs understand really well, but the 2200s not so clearly, is that in this position, black wants to trade a rook.
Yeah.
Like a really important thing. So even it's worth giving up a pawn even to trade the rook. So
actually, I asked Strong Chess because this came up like a couple weeks ago, and he hadn't heard the rule.
Right. And it's just something that you gotta. It's funny. I was actually talking to Quirked about it on one of our sessions, and it was almost like either he didn't believe me or he was just like, "Whatever, cry." I was like, "No, this is really important." Anyways, it's something that it takes a while to get. And really, a way to understand this position is that the bishop has a lot of squares, but it can only touch one color, and it needs the rook to complement it with the light squares. And the rooks on d7 and d8 are doing a lot of the same thing. So I want to trade the thing off.
Make it easier. One exciting thing I want to announce is that we are soon going to be starting up a ladder tournament for ChessDojo. And this is really exciting because it will be open to everyone. And the advantage of that over like the round robin tournaments is like anyone can just sign up, schedule a game with someone else on the ladder. They have to be within one belt of you in order for the game to count. So if you're like green belt or blue belt, I forget the exact order, but basically you can challenge players one level above and below. And it'll be a lot easier to organize because people can basically register themselves, join the ladder, see their standings, and then we'll have different sections like maybe best under 2000 and under 1600. But that's something that's coming to the dojo very, very soon, and I think we'll be opening it up like this week basically to players. So everyone will be able to take part in the tournament. And we'll have different seasons. I'm thinking 2-month seasons. So this first one will open up and it'll be like a 2-month thing, and whoever is the champ at the end will be the season 1 champion. It will be a classical ladder. So I think minimum time control 45 plus 30. And by the way, thanks so much Night Be Free and Knights Tour for the 2-month subscriptions.
Yeah, and Night Be Free, your question, the rule is exactly, I think, as you put it. Win up the exchange the opponent's last rook, and you could reverse the rule and say when you're down the exchange, you want to keep your rook.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I think the ladder thing's going to be really cool. And it doesn't mean we can't have the other tournaments as well. Let me say there's a mild debate about time control that you guys can weigh in on. I personally like this one that we've got here with the game 90 plus 30-second increment. But tell us, Kostya, how you envision it. Like they can choose their own time control with the ladder a little bit, or how does it going to work?
Basically, as long as the game is 45-30 or longer, it'll count for the ladder. So if both players want to go like 90-30 or 60-30, that's up to them. I chose 45-30 because that's the feedback I got from the Squire group when I was initially inviting them to like these round robins. They were like, a lot of them were like, we'd rather play 45-30. And I think that goes for probably a good chunk of people on Discord. But yeah, I was thinking we keep these round robin tournaments as kind of like maybe our more serious events, strictly for tournament players who want to play tournament time control against opponents that they know. The ladder will be a little bit more open, so you might not always know your opponent since anyone in the dojo is free to join. But as a result, it can be a little bit more casual and is not as maybe serious as this event. And yeah, it gives people a chance to compete with everyone else in the thing. It won't be like let's say a traditional ladder where like you place someone above you and then if you beat them, like you take their spot. It's more like kind of like an open system where you can set up training games against whoever you want, and whoever scores the most points during the period is kind of like the champion. And there will also be a prize, or at least a winner, for the player with the best percentage. So if you play like I think a minimum of 8 games, let's say for 2 months, the player with the best percentage over those 8 games or more is kind of the winner for that section, let's say.
So Bubba Tuff, aka Sam, has a question. How would moving up or down the ladder work?
So yeah, basically it would just be counting your total score. And so players of different belts can be higher up on the ladder. So if you've won like 5 games and everyone else has only won 3 or 4, then you would basically be at the top. Now if you've won 5 games out of 15, then it's like, okay, not the greatest not the greatest percentage, but you did win the most games, so that should count for something as well. Actually, we talked about it with Matt for a little while because it's not clear how to determine a champion, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like a club championship. Like it doesn't have to be the strongest player wins the ladder. A lot of times it comes down to like maybe just activity, whoever is getting more games and playing more. And it'll reset every 2 months or so, kind of like we'll have a fresh season. And players would be able to play games, chess.com, Lichess, doesn't matter. If you want your game covered on stream, like if there are some ladder games going on, maybe we'll do some commentary on them sometime. Then it would have to be chess.com, but players are free to play wherever they like. Hey, Night Be Free, thanks so much for the 500 bits. Much appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. Vishnu, or rather Mitch, went down this road that I thought maybe it was an instructive endgame decision. Maybe we could do but you know what? At some point we need to do a video series on instructive endgame decisions. That sounds kind of fun, actually.
No, that's been the topic of my 2 classes with the US Chess School is decision making in the endgame.
Oh,
So I can totally take those positions and put them up in a video. You can take the test.
So let's look at this decision and see if we were right. So we were looking at this, and our sense was that on rook d5, c4, black was going to have enough play, and so therefore we wanted to play rook c1 instead. And
yeah,
maybe
like a better try. Mm-hmm.
Black still has all kinds of things he can throw at us, right?
Right.
But the interesting thing, I think, is that White probably said to himself something like, oh, I'm winning a pawn if he does c4. But in fact, your rook is suboptimal because my mama said don't put your rook in front of the pawn. And black is going to have some real activity now. And he chooses rook c3, which I think he had other moves too, but rook c3 seems fair enough to me. and there's some difficulty in knowing what white is supposed to do, and that just the counterplay is going to be like rook b8 coming up soon.
Yeah, super super simple, like accelerated dragon, Benko Gambit style counterplay. Very easy for black as long as black doesn't blunder like a back rank check in bishop h6 at some point. Like nothing to worry about dynamically, especially after white goes bishop f2. Now it's like, yeah, white has just gone full passive mode.
Right, and actually, one of the crazy things is it's actually white here who might need to be a little careful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, white might need to be a little careful in these positions.
Totally. Rook b8, rook d1, and now
Mhm.
I would really want to think about just like h5. Just nip this idea in the bud, and okay, bishop f6, kind of same thing.
Right.
Both players speeding up here a bit. Not sure why, but okay. Anyway, bishop h6 is not really a threat, but yeah, we don't really want to have to deal with this check with bishop f8 if we don't have
Oh yeah,
to.
they're playing way too fast. This is the moment where white needs to slow the frick down.
Yeah.
He needs to really slow down. And bishop f6, I'm not sure, that seemed a little fast too, because white can dream about maybe a small edge with rook c5 now. I don't know if it's true, but he can at least dream about rook c5.
So here trading rooks definitely, yeah, seems to be in white's favor.
So whereas instead of bishop f6, if dude had played, let's say, rook c2,
Right.
then we deny rook c5.
Yeah.
And we just put our rook in kind of a cool place anyway.
And now white should start thinking about equalizing like with rook d5 or something.
It's a very key thing I see in endgame. One of the reasons GMs like to play endgames against the lower rated is right, they think the position's somehow obvious. And actually, it's like, this is where you got to forget your intuition most of all. I feel like there's, to do like any endgame position, it's going to be some calculation. It's usually not going to be as obvious as the first intuition. And right here, it's like white to play and get a small edge, and rook c5, I think you're suffering a little bit. I think so.
Well, maybe like rook a3.
Well, then we can rook c2.
Right, and like rook a8.
Okay. Well, okay, let's do the obvious, rook d2. Black hasn't solved his problems, right?
Yeah.
And in the game,
Yeah, we have violence.
God, they're just playing so fast. They're playing so fast. King f1. Let's see if I can get this. So, King f1, rook c2, and now e5. They're playing so fast. This is totally typical of lower rated players playing the endgame as if it was obvious. It's not obvious, bro. It's not obvious. The whole thing is not obvious.
Yeah. And then it's like, they eventually they blunder and they lose, and they're like, oh, I just made like this one move blunder. Like that's why.
Right.
Like, no, this is a pattern of abuse.
That's right. Oh man.
So one nice trick is like if rook b2, white gives this check first and takes the bishop with check. But it's really weird, and yeah, I don't know how much this is helping white if black just goes like bishop g5 and. I mean, rook b2 is still a huge threat. It's starting to look dangerous for white.
Well, all I can say is this is a position both players should be thinking deeper about, because there's all kinds of possible tricks here.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
And when you play rook b2, I can move the bishop to g3 or something, and if you take g2, your rook's actually going to be kind of uncomfortable there.
Oh man, we got to go back to Quirk's game. You'll never
Uh-oh.
believe the move on the board right now.
Holy smokes!
See, this is why I liked Queen B8. I just knew.
I liked Queen D7 for the record. I like Queen D7. All right, let me pull this. Wow. Okay, let me pull this up. Great. I tell you, man, Quirk. And this is what it's really interesting as a personal story when you think about Joel, because when you're going to play somebody who's like you're 1800, 1900, and they are 2200, they're going to throw some stuff at you, and you're going to be like, you're going to at least get thrown off balance, you know? And for sure, that's what's going on. Oh, wait a second.
Yeah. Night Be Free, thanks so much for the gifted subs. That actually gets us really close to our next magic number of 80. We're at 79. So I think if we get one more, we get another emote slot. So that'll be exciting for the channel. Yeah, what a move. Queen D6 on the board.
All right, here we go. I'm going to flip this. Okay, so we had our big decision. Queen C8, and now Queen D6. The threat is Knight C7. And, oh man. Okay, let me just say, Bishop D8, I think is a legal move. It's too weird, though. I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah.
Now,
well, can we just check the endgame first? I mean,
yeah, let's check the endgame first.
Is White really getting out? Now, I assume it's Knight C8 here, and that there's not going to be another move.
Let's just assume.
Yeah.
And then GF.
Right.
And right, we have to check if there's not some violence here. He might survive this. Oh, man. Quirk's got some skills, buddy. Before it was all Joel. It was like Joel had his fancy lion, and then Knight D5, Queen D6. Quirk's like, no, now you're in my territory. Welcome to the wild side. Okay. Queen D6 is a real easy move to miss.
Of course.
Let's.
I mean, actually, if we could go back for a sec, I don't think White is totally out of the woods. Like, I feel like Knight H4, and to me, Black still looks much more active here.
Okay, how do you? But is there a threat?
Well, I just want to like take on E4, Knight D4. Now I'm just playing for advantage. I'm definitely not claiming Black is winning anymore.
But like Bishop E3, who's better and why?
Yeah, feels like there might be something, but no, I don't know. It could just fizzle out. You know?
Maybe Knight E. Yeah, I don't know. No, I think I mean, I'd be really happy to get this if I was White, given what just happened to me.
Yeah, of course.
Let's just go back and just look at for candidate moves here, because it's so wild.
Thanks, Night Be Free and Night's Tour again for the gifted subs. You guys really rock. I think that brings us to over 80, so that's super cool.
I've got some interesting notions here. We could allow Knight C7 and sacrifice the queen in certain variations. And one of them is just Bishop D1.
True.
So let's just do that. There might be other moves, like Knight F4 is interesting. In fact, Knight F4 is really interesting. Oh yeah, this is where Joel, think for 20 minutes, buddy. Think for 20 minutes. All right. So if Knight F4, this is really fascinating. So if he takes with the bishop, then the problem is my king has an escape. So Knight C7 will not be some amazing thing.
But what's going on Knight C7?
Let's look. So snip. Now the knight doesn't have to go to H. It could have gone to H4, for example. There's all kinds of things that the guy can do.
Sure.
And let's just look at it for a second. Knight H3. I guess there's question marks there. White doesn't have a threat. Is one of the great. I mean, not like for example, Knight H3. Isn't this? Let's say just for example, King F1. Rook G2, are you getting out of dodge? I got Rook G1 as a threat.
Yeah. Huge question. Huge.
So maybe king h2 after knight h3?
Well, there was king e1, although, or does that just lose
Wait, okay,
in
so,
that
so king
position?
f1, rook takes king e1. Now I can't play knight e4 yet because of queen d7 mate. This is great.
So it's queen for 2 knights, just so we're all clear. It's just like pure queen for 2 knights position.
Oh,
Neither a rook participating.
this feels like something bad is about to happen to white. But and the other thing is there's no monster threat for white.
Oh no, this. Wait, king c. No, this
Okay,
this
wait.
is mate. This is just mate. Like, we have knight f2. We have bishop c5.
Okay, just to be clear, so king e3
King e3.
probably is just mate. But, you know.
Hold on, guys. We went over this. Okay. Forcing moves.
Oh, I see. Bishop d1. By all means, we can do that. But bear in mind that on bishop d1, the guy might just play rook. But you know what? Bishop. So let's say there's all kinds of moves. Let's look at bishop d1 first, just to see if we can make life simple.
This
Let's
is
just see if we can
insanity.
make life simple.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So queen d6, bishop d1, and what we can say, I think, with clarity, is on rook d1. Then we just take this thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's clear.
That's done.
So knight c7, snip, snip. Let's bring the bishop back. I mean, if you wanted to be greedy, maybe bishop c2, but I was just hoping, like, here. What is our body count? I can't even calculate it. Like, we got a severe body count here.
It's rook and 2 knights. I mean, it's serious, but black's king is weak, so.
Black's king is weak, and that a pawn is going to be a force.
Yeah. This is looking good for white.
Man.
I don't think this is working.
All right, so let's go back.
Black.
So we got bishop d1. We've got knight f4. We've got knight h4. But definitely the thing that I'm drawn to, and we've got the end game. We've got the end game too. Oh man, this is a good. This should be a deep calculation. Because one thing I want to say about your deep calculation is the first move was kind of like, okay, we got that. This one
was obvious.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I wanted it because I wanted to kind of lure people in. Like, they see the first move, they're like, okay, I can do this.
Okay, fair enough. This one, I'm not clear about the first one. Man, oh man.
No, and there's still bishop d8, which we didn't refute.
I don't like bishop d8 though. I just want to say.
Although actually, yeah, there was queen f6. Someone mentioned in the chat.
Oh, right, queen f6. All right. Okay. So let me show another rude boy move here. Bishop g2, knight c7. This is also a weird thought. I believe in this one less, but I just want to say this is also really disturbing with the knight f3 mate threat.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that idea. So there's just a lot of candidate moves.
Also, one thing to mention is white can think about bailing out themselves with this queen takes f6 in a lot of lines too. Like, if bishop g2, maybe queen takes f6 was an option there.
Fair enough. So there's the ones that are really growling at me are knight f4 and knight h4. Yeah. Where then there's going to be no queen f6 because it's going to be mate.
Well, wait, why exactly? Sorry, knight f4. If we take...
Check to the miserable king. You got to go here and then mate.
Ah, nice, nice.
I'm just assuming actually that's mate. I'm gonna make that assumption.
Yeah, actually, last time it wasn't.
By the way, now we can take on f6 too if we wanted to be totally rude.
Right. Okay, so that's done. So knight f4.
Oh, okay, dude did move. Oh, come on, Joel, play a good one, buddy. Oh no, he went to the end game.
King d7.
Okay, maybe he has some deep drama on this move. We're gonna give him the. Let's just give him the benefit of the doubt for a second. So.
Okay.
Oh, man. King D7, bro.
No, I don't think.
I don't get it yet. Let's just say, what is the idea?
Oh, wait.
Well, I get it. I get it. He wants to take
D1.
the rook with. He wants to take bishop takes D1. Thank you very much for playing.
Oh.
He found the simplest way, man. We were like killing ourselves, and he was like, "I just want to make it real simple."
But I mean, is it so easy? We're taking on F7 at the end, like take.
Okay, let's ask the question. Oh, okay.
Can Black just be a clean piece up here somehow?
So King C7 could be a default move.
Yeah. Guess there's Rook H8 also. Bishop G7, Rook F7.
On Rook H8, on Rook H8, I was freaked out about Bishop G7.
Yeah, this one I think doesn't work because we'll have this check and then taking.
Also, Bishop F6 and then Rook D8 is also.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we don't want that. Joel, man, so far it looks good. Quirk's under pressure. He's got to find some more magic.
Wow, King D7. No, that's a nice find.
Yeah.
That's a 5-point move right there. That is minimum 5-point move.
So for you guys watching, like, Kostas got this really complicated like scoring system for his latest video, man. And I was out there, and here, this was my page, and I like got over here, and I got all my points. And at a certain point, I just got upset, and I was like, "Dude, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore." Yeah, we'll go over that position at some point on the stream. King D7, though, monster move. I really think the computer will show other things, but so far, this looks like very simple. And I like it. Okay. I'm just going to assume that there's no GF or anything. It just seems hard to imagine with the GF, because then I'm going to check and I'm going to do terrible things.
Yeah. Wow.
But
good for
I
him.
wouldn't be surprised if Quirk plays GF, because he's a madman.
Right. Once you say A, you have to say B.
That's right. Yeah, King D7, very nice move. Very nice move.
Yeah.
Whew. Oh, man. Awesome, some nothing. That seems right about the knight f4 line.
All right, we got to go to. I think we got to go to Counter Sparks again because we just have like.
Whoa.
Tragic comedy developing here.
All right, let me pull that up. Okay. That's some great games today, man. Great games. Okay. So, bam. This is where we left it. They were playing.
Yeah, take a look at move 31.
This, by the way, I give White full credit for this. This is like activate the king, try to create some drama.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know what else he was supposed to do.
Well,
so king c4.
I mean, he's walking into the discover check, and then instead of taking a pawn, Black could have grabbed the knight. Just like...
well, that's an important point. I mean, from Mel, give him props, and like this is kind of what he wants to be doing. But yeah, you're right. That's like knight b5 or knight c6, end of the game.
And I mean, just Black spent seconds on his last 4 or 5 moves, like seconds.
That one's really embarrassing.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny. When we were just going through the moves very quickly, I just trusted it. You know, that knight f3 was somehow forced. Yeah, he did too, but he had more time. What is it? Yeah, they both. Shock Masteo, buddy, you got 50 minutes. He's got 50 minutes left, and he played knight f3.
Right. No, he had more because I think on rook d7 he spent 14 minutes. So.
Oh man.
Now it's like too late. Now the position might be like lost for Black. Like who knows? I mean, I feel like he's probably okay, but I don't know. This pawn is...
I mean, that's a very real pawn.
Yeah, I mean, knight c6, knight b8, and pawn is just promoting. Knight c8, excuse me, like tempo up. So, and then now they're blitzing. I mean, isn't now the time to figure out if you're losing or not? I would think.
Oh yeah, both sides. Yeah, white too, man. This is this is an endgame study, like here in terms of these kinds of positions. I can't even understand what happened here.
Now white only has 9 minutes, so he doesn't want to run all the way down. But for black,
no, you still want to use. You can use 5 minutes here to think about this.
Yeah, for sure.
Rook d7, king b8. Did he?
Knight takes g3 here.
Knight takes g3, and then bishop c5.
Seems to be with idea king c8.
But bro, just move your knight like you did. Something like knight c8 or knight c6.
Yeah, this looks much easier.
And do I understand this one too? Rook d7. Okay, king e8. Bishop c5. What? Tell me again, what's the idea of bishop c5?
Well, I assume it's to defend the knight and go king c8.
But like you're also allowing weird shots like knight e4 here?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, don't ask me to defend it, but maybe he wants bishop g1. I don't know. Maybe black's h-pawn here is a big problem.
Let's just look. I mean, okay, so I have no idea, obviously, what's going on here. But let's just imagine this for a moment. Knight c6. Should we try h4?
Yeah, h4.
And if I go king c8, maybe there's h3. Maybe that's the issue.
Right.
And maybe his bishop c5 is motivated by like some bishop g1 at some point.
Yeah.
Here's a hilarious position. King c8, h3, takes, 8, here, here, here. Who's better and why? Hello, my little friend. Hello.
Yeah, this is pretty
knock,
fun.
knock. Knock, knock. Yes. I love these positions. Oh, I get such a sardonic glee out of it. It's like, yeah, look at that. I don't see anything. That was forcing too, I think. Let's look again. Knight c6. H4, king c8. If you move the rook, my pawn is truly rolling.
Right.
H3, snip. H2, a6. Oh, very enjoyable. That's just very enjoyable.
Yeah, and if we go back a sec and go, we try this one.
Oh, interesting. Okay, good question.
Oh, here knight's hanging.
Interesting. Okay. The problem is still your knight isn't on g3 isn't helping. So imagine king b7.
Yeah.
And then we got something like queen f1, a7, queen a8, and then the game's going to progress from here. I don't know exactly what's going to happen.
Oh, but now it feels like it's kind of under control.
Let's look though at that rook a7 move again. That was a good move. And right, so I think this all seems right. Oh wait, excuse me. So rook a7, knight, pawn. Now, okay, that's good. Okay, wait a second. Wait, but watch. There's maybe some like bishop d6 something here.
Right.
Because the rook isn't going anywhere now.
Well,
Knight f5, I can move. If nothing else, I got like bishop h2. Hello.
Wait, so 97 not in time?
I'm just going to take it and play a6. And I'm threatening bishop c7.
Yeah. But
Oh, I got to be careful with that.
A7?
That's too soon. That's too soon. I got to be a little careful. So 97. 19. I really don't think black's in time. Let's say b4. My king is working and your king isn't, you know.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I'm definitely unconvinced. Rook e2. Then just run with the h-pawn.
That might be fair. Oh, okay, all right. Let me get it. Let me try to improve my lot. So right, that was interesting. A6, and then we had a surprising difficulty. Okay, so well, in any case, there's something to think about.
Yep, it could have been calculated.
Rook A7 was a real good move. Let's think about it for half a second. So there's bishop d6. Bishop c5 is playable, but maybe weird. What's nice about bishop c5 actually is now the rook is not going to get out by any kind of weird knight e7 trick. And on h3 I play bishop g1. In knight e2 I play bishop h2. Yeah, the rook is hosed.
Yeah. This one
Oh man,
tough. Yeah, this one might be just lost.
Quirk played gf3 as predicted.
Yeah, it's so funny.
I think that's his best practical try, and some weird stuff is going down, but it doesn't. I don't think Joel has actually any problem.
Yeah, it doesn't smell like checkmate on this one.
Man, I feel like I've played a lot of guys in my career like Quirked, very creative players who are going to throw some bombs at you. You probably don't know Michael Brooks. He's of an older generation, but that guy was that guy. You know, played.
Yeah, I played him a couple of times in St. Louis. Really sharp player.
Yeah, very sharp. Will definitely try to hurt you. Yeah, there's been a couple guys like that. So this Quirk guy reminds me of it. And you know, even when they're lost, you know, they are dangerous.
Yeah, maybe the most dangerous.
Maybe the most dangerous. That's right. This one, though, I don't see it being dangerous. I think this one's legitimately toast. All right. Did you know, we haven't looked at it forever, but the game with Never and Phenom, it's still going on.
It actually got super messy. I mean, white is no longer up a piece in the live position.
Yeah, this was like...
probably still doing quite well, but I'm guessing not the best technique here.
Let's go back and just kind of roll through what happened here. So white was up a piece, and the bishop on c8 is abysmal.
Yeah, so 2 pieces.
2 pieces, really. Okay, he's starting to get a little...
I mean, this was very Alpha Zero from white, but...
Oh, so far he's doing fine. Yeah, knight d1's a little weird.
Rook d6, wow. Oh, sorry, let me know when you get... Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so...
I love Rook d6.
Maybe... What happened? Oh, he blundered here with rook e6. He blundered with rook e6.
Wow.
Oh, that's really painful. Oh, totally winning, man. It's so sad because the bishop on b7, he would just love to sacrifice the pawn on c6, but he can't. So he's never going to get to play. And so this happens. Oh, that's very sad. And now the bishop got out on a6 with that exchange.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. So this is our current position.
But as you can see, White has gone on full tilt since losing the rook, because he was playing well, and then after that blunder, which he made, 30 seconds of thought, he's just like playing instantly since then. So this is the stuff that I feel like hurts these players so much, because it's like, okay, you're gonna make mistakes, but by playing fast, you're just gonna continue to make mistakes.
Right.
You gotta change something up.
Yeah. Let's check out Vishnu. Some stuff's happened. They're still playing fast, but it's getting pretty wild.
He's doing well. No, Vishnu's starting to spend some time. Maybe too much now for him, but at least I think he kind of realizes he might be pushing for some advantage here.
All right, so here we go. Rook c2, e5, bishop g5, and here was a big moment I felt for White. Anyways, g3. It feels like a passive attempt, because it's like you're saying, well, on the rook b2s of the world, I want to maybe play eventually a bishop g1, and I just
please don't hurt me.
My video, of course, popped out again.
Oh,
I know. I don't know why. Any case, so bishop d2 is exciting. Hitting the rook. Rook e7. Bishop c3. Do I know what's happening? No, I don't. I really have no idea what's going on in this position.
It is double edged. Bishop c3. Long think there. I mean, I guess maybe definitely thinking about bishop b4, but the problem is rook e8, king g7, and bishop d4 actually looks really unpleasant.
Right, because where bishop is covering the key f2 square, like, it's not going to be too easy to mate us.
Yeah.
All right, let's look. So bishop c3. What's our time situation here? Oh, these guys got loads of time. All right. At least Fabian.
Yeah.
Mitch has got loads of time.
Critical for black here too.
So bishop c5 is a move. Rook e8 followed by bishop c5 is a move. Both those look very unpleasant for black.
But there's h5, so black is not getting mated yet.
Not yet. I'm gonna say this is looking real bad. How about bishop c5?
Yeah, let's try h5.
Then e6. Looks horrendo. Looks horrendo.
Yeah, your e6 is really nice. e6 is really good.
So, right, we're waiting on this one. Mitch really should take his time here, buddy. Come on, buddy, you got 35 minutes. Just mellow it out. Have you ever heard of autogenic technique?
No.
So this is one of the things Nikitin's talking about with Kasparov, where basically it's a breathing technique that's supposed to mellow you out. Kind of like Xanax, but not without drugs. And it's interesting, especially for young players. I can definitely imagine it being a thing. Like, you need to teach them to slow it the frick down. And for our guys here too, right? They need either some Xanax or some autogenic technique. I never had the pleasure of trying Xanax, but they say for a lot of things, for like musicians take Xanax, and it's supposed to really help. But I think if Mitch takes some Xanax here or does some breathing exercises, now the only reason to play rook e8 first would be that after bishop c5, you're somehow concerned about the rook b8s of the world. However, rook b8 is already such an admission that things have gone dramatically wrong, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not really concerned about it.
Yeah, very hard to believe. That's cool. I mean, I guess we kind of left these lines in the background, but basically both sides are going to be threatening back rank mates here. And for black, at first it looked okay because if white tries to like double up, then there's always rook c1 or rook b1. But that's what makes this e6 so strong, is that it opens the file or the rank, and
Right.
this is becoming a huge issue.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I get the feeling whenever I analyze with lower rated players, you know, a lot of times they just stop the calculation super soon. You know, they see one move, they see one response, and they're like, oh, I guess it doesn't work, or they don't really think to try to justify it so much. It's really like a mental block that we just have to kind of continually get over and break down. A typical... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, continue your thought, but I was going to just add that, particularly in the end game, they think that the moves are obvious. When it's like, no, this is where you really have to go deep and find some.
Yeah. Yeah, in positions where, like, you know, the right move looks like it hangs a pawn, but then there's like a very simple tactic to justify it, and a lot of players, they just forget that they can do that.
Oh, we got a question from Icy about bishop d2, and it's totally legitimate. After g3, was bishop d2 forced? What's the idea if rook b2? Totally fair question. The drama about this move was going to be some kind of bishop d4.
Yeah.
But maybe this is still what he should have done, because on bishop d4, I guess we can dream about the rook a2s of the world. Let me just play a couple intuitive moves. It could probably go differently, but let's just try rook a8, bishop d4. Now maybe rook d2 is a thought, but let's just play this one first. Looks, well, white would need something special here.
Looks fine for black. Like...
Looks fine. On e6 you can play bishop f6. Well, wait, let me take it back. So wait a second. What about snip, snop, and f4? Is it really okay? Not sure.
Yeah, annoying. I don't know. Bishop h6 and
there's a lot of moves, even h4 though. It's not going to be pleasant.
Yeah, something out of endgame strategy.
Right, and g4 of course is a thought as well, but h4 is. But maybe also, so right, rook b2 definitely a thought, and maybe the thing you should consider is rook d2. That might be stronger. It's very complicated. e6 is a move here. Yeah, real mess. But definitely, I think bishop d2 was played very quickly, and Mitch is finally thinking about it. So, wait a second. Yeah, this is our position. We're thinking about bishop c5. Ah, right. I'm just going to say Joel is completely winning. He could blow this still. Quirk's got 5 minutes left, but he's completely winning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what we need to do is we need to look at the great Thad Stevens and Rosewood.
Yeah, we can come back to this one. It also seems like maybe Countersparks and Shock might be decided soon.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. We'll round this up here. So we left the position somewhere around here. Knight d6 was played. It's funny, I want to say knight d4 was my instinct. I kind of feel like that would have been the simpler way to doing things. But alright. Because now you got to worry about black playing stuff like e5 and f6. By the way, I don't like castles, because your king would rather be in the middle. So a move like f6 speaks to me much more than castles. In fact, very much so, because I want to play king f7 and have my king local to the party. Not sure I understand everything, but here we go. So they're right, you're going to play f6 anyway. Yeah, right? Look what he did. He did the whole business. So, alright, things getting pretty wild, and here's our position. Black can certainly now claim that he's doing pretty good. E5 is hard to stop. King E6 is going to show up on the board. And I should mention that the bishops of opposite color is definitely in Black's favor, because we're going to have the pawns on dark squares, and the light square bishop is going to be able to cruise around all those squares, and the B3 pawn is weak. Oh yeah, this is turning around. White needs a magical move right now.
Yeah, I think the practical aspects are on Black's side here for sure. There's a question from Static in the chat. What do you do if there's a simple defense to a move you have? Like, you see you have some knight attacking something type of move, but it's defended easily, so then you don't bother. Yeah, I mean, you know, I refer to these moves as like one move threats. And generally I feel like, you know, if your opponent can defend against your one move threat, probably that move you're making isn't going to help your position, and it could just end up being a waste of time. So you have to be kind of concrete. If you're going for something concrete and forcing, it has to work. You have to get something at the end of the line. If it doesn't go anywhere, then it would be a mistake to enter that variation and play that move. Now for some players, they don't look hard enough. So they have some idea, they see the obvious defense, and then they don't see the refutation to that defense and end up playing something else. These players need to work on calculation, solve a lot of combinations, and build up this tactical vision. But in general, if you don't see a good follow-up, it's good. I think it's good practice not to go down forcing lines, and rather focusing on improving your position and looking for a better opportunity. There was one weird moment in this game when White pushed.
There's some weird moments right now.
D4. I just didn't get what was happening on A6. Why was this rejected? I mean,
I don't know, buddy.
If you have no time and you're gonna play a move like.
Okay, I think the reason I would just try to create a narrative for him would be like snip.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah. So push, take, and then come back.
And then come back.
And.
Well, and we can take. Yeah, this is. Well, you don't have. There's no rush. Oh, there was a rush because of
yeah.
95.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Black wins this one, yeah.
It would surprise us if it didn't. Yeah. God, think about White made this so much harder than it needed to be. All right, here we go. Rook G2, A6. We can come back to these decisions here. Rook A1, Knight A5, Rook E1. And I'm guessing that when White played B4,
he had this in mind. Very nice.
He might have had this in mind, but I don't think it works.
Well, that's a bummer.
Right? That's right. I think it's a bummer. Yeah, it looks like we're just lost.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
Are we? Oh, sorry, Rook E8. Yeah.
Yeah, Rook E8. And that we have our first result of the day. And dude, White won that. Let's go back and just show that position. Holy smokes! When you go back to the position after Bishop E2, this is I really thought, like, depending on a person's mood, they might, some GMs, I know actually some GMs would resign.
Sure.
They would resign, and the game goes on, and White won. The battle of the exchange. Man, oh man, oh man. It was so weird. Like, okay, let's just say a couple obvious things. I'll tell a story on this position with, let me find it here. So, King D3. Did you know that Yermolinsky beat Kasparov twice? I knew that he had beaten him once, but I hadn't really appreciated that he had beaten him twice.
No, I didn't.
And, by the way, like, that's how I'm related to Kasparov, I think. I don't know. There's probably some other GM that beat him that I beat, but that's my path. That's my path to get to Kasparov. Anyways, so he misses knight b5, and one of the things that Nikitin did for this move that he missed against Yermolinsky that was not as obvious as this one, but still obvious enough to be like, what? and the move was g4. So for the next year, he called him g4. And maybe for the next year, we should call Shock Masteo knight c6. We'll just call him that. We'll just call him knight c6. Anyway, so we got this position. And, you know, White's doing what he needs to do up to this point. And maybe, I guess, bishop c5, you know, all this stuff could be debated. But Shock Masteo was the one with the loads of time.
Right.
Oh, we got another result, and White did end up winning against Phenom Monkey.
Yeah. I think Quirked is probably wrapping up soon. This one looks like Black has everything under control.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I guess the Rose with that Stevens game, that one definitely is definitely up in the air. But oof, tragic mistake with Rook takes e5.
Tragic, and we were talking about the rule. We got
to put up a pinned message in the Discord or something, like when you're down in exchange, like do not trade.
And this, I think, is a pretty instructive example of it, because after fe5, I would rather be Black. No questions asked. Everything's going my way. After Rook e5, there's all kinds of things to say. First of all, White isn't even in any rush to take the Rook.
Right, very pleasant choice. Bishop f4 and yeah.
But also, he can play very simply, I think, and say snip, Rook c5.
Oh, what are you saying?
I mean, we can just play Rook takes e5 and Rook c5. Oh, am I doing this on the wrong board? No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sometimes I start moving the pieces on the other board, like the actual board, and chess.com lets me do it. So I think I'm on the right board, but I'm not on the right board. So let me pull this up. I was talking and people had no idea what I was saying. Okay, so Rook takes e5, epic positional move. And we could play other moves, but if we just take, and the Rook should just start being able to dominate the pieces. I'm threatening bishop a5, I think, right? And b6, I have Rook b5. Looks horrendo.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
And
weird
and
mistake.
one reason,
I mean, fe just looks so natural here.
Yeah. Very pleasant. So, for example, actually, to contrast it, if we say like Rook c5, let me just make an obvious move: King e6, Bishop a5, just for kicks, King d6. Even if there's no tactical problem for White, let's assume there isn't after Rook b5. This is a position with loads of interesting play for Black, because later I'm going to play e4, e3. My king's more active. Your king has some drama to figure out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
very pleasant.
Two protected passers. It's a big deal.
And in fact, like Rook f8 is already pretty unpleasant here. You know. Oh, all right. Well, things to learn from. Yeah. I'm really impressed with Joel. It's also just cool because Joel suffered in these kinds of positions before, and now he's just winning easily.
Icy Stun says, so hard to say when trading the Rook or not is correct. No, it's not hard. Don't trade the Rook.
I mean, if you're getting something special for it, then that's a different deal, right? If you're getting something special, but I don't, in general, you don't want to do it.
Yeah, I think the common example is like if by simplifying, then like your pass pawn is now unstoppable, then okay. But otherwise, like, yeah, keep the Rook. It's only in position, like in other positions, like if you're slightly better, you have two Rooks versus two Rooks, then okay, maybe it's not clear. Should you trade one Rook or not? Do you want to keep two Rooks on the board? Those positions, yeah, kind of borderline. But when you're down the exchange, keep your Rook. You need it. This game seems to be simplifying. I think Mitch kind of blew it. He spent the time, but missed it.
He didn't play Bishop c5. Man, maybe we're missing something with Bishop c5, but it looked pretty good.
Yeah,
Bishop
very
c5.
dangerous.
Bishop g1, and now, well, honestly, anything could happen now.
Intuitively feels like Black is in good shape. Just these Rooks.
Yeah,
So
you're
strong.
never gonna win with that 8 pawn. Yeah.
And if we get some 3-on-3 with like rook a2, I mean that one is really pleasant, right? Or is white just, you think, holding easily?
If we take the pawn.
Yeah, if we just got like 3 versus 3, 1 rook each, and black has this rook on the 7th rank.
Maybe, but you know, well, okay, that's better for black. But I think in general, like, let's say a4. I imagine that we might see that. Black should be dreaming about the h5s of the world.
Yeah, of course.
And we can put a rook on a2 whenever we want. There's never going to be, I don't think, any kind of rook d7s or stuff. You're just always going to get mated.
Yeah.
And it's really, yeah, it's becoming very difficult to move your pieces. Kostya, right now it's a little after 9 my time.
Yeah, let's finish it up.
Yeah. It's been, this one, I want to say, it's always enjoyable, but tonight was really enjoyable. A lot of fun games. I like just shooting the stuff with people. So yeah, really fun to be here.
Yeah, it was a blast. Yeah, if you want to get going, I'll wrap up the show. We have Counter Sparks and Bonnie Haas here. I think Shock was in the chat as well. Yeah, interesting games, guys. I'm sure you'll find some of your mistakes. Main thing, we just noticed like some moments where the position was really complicated, but the moves came really quickly. You know, definitely could have been like more deliberation at a lot of these moments, but really fun games overall.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, thanks so much. I'll see you next Sunday on this beautiful stream.
Thanks, Jesse. Take care.
All right, bye.
All right, guys. Jesse is gone for the night. We'll be finishing up the stream. Thanks so much for everyone who tuned in and who supported the channel. Tons of gifted subs tonight. That was really awesome to see. This is really like the highlight of my week. Like these Sunday night fights. Just get to relax, talk chess with Jesse, hang out, talk about the latest dramas of the week. Yeah, Bonnie Haas, I felt like, well, okay, you had, winning position, extra knight. You went on autopilot. That's fine. You had like big advantage. I think the main thing, we were, or at least I was questioning was, at one point you blunder back the rook, right? So your opponent, sacrifices the exchange kind of out of desperation, and then, okay, you spend 30 seconds here, rook takes c6, and turns out to be a blunder. So that happens. Okay, you spend 30 seconds on a move, you didn't blunder check, you should have seen that, you didn't. But then from here, this is where you really need to slow down and actually like start spending your time, because the real problem is like, okay, you spend a minute on rook e4, and then all these moves were like super fast, and who knows what's happening here. You might have like a million different options. So here's where I felt like you went on till and just started trying to blitz your moves. But now your advantage has never been smaller. Like this is the moment where, if anything, you should be digging in your heels. You have 50 minutes on your clock. Spend some time to figure out the best possible way to convert this, because now like it's not really clear if white is really winning anymore. So this is why people say like mistakes come in pairs, because like, okay, you make that first mistake, you get tilted, then that's like the most important moment to actually slow down and prevent yourself from making more mistakes, because you already made one, but you don't have to make additional mistakes. So that I think was actually kind of a bigger thing, because, well, we're never going to eradicate our play of blunders totally. We're always going to blunder something at some point, but we can definitely control our emotions a bit more, and absolutely use the time, as Icy is saying, to compose yourself rather than calculate. If it was an OTB game, I would recommend to get up from the board and like walk around, compose yourself, go to the bathroom, and get acquainted with your new reality, which is that now you have a very small advantage, and if you're going to get anything here, it's going to be through precision. And to get that precision, of course, you have to spend time and think about the situation. Actually, I had a similar experience. I was playing Grandmaster Tiger Hillar Pearson, famous Swedish GM, and we had a really tough game. I was kind of defending the whole time, and then in time pressure, I missed this idea he had. All of a sudden, I was under huge pressure, and then I immediately gave up a pawn, and I was just dead lost and lost the game. And I had an option there. Either I could have given up the pawn or I could give the exchange. I decided to give the pawn, and I just went down very quickly. Then after the game, we were analyzing, and he asked me about that moment, and it was very clear in the analysis like had I given up the exchange, it actually would have been a very difficult position for him to win. Even though he would have an extra exchange, it would just be very tricky. I have some passed pawns, a lot of counterplay. And then he kind of chewed me out a little bit for the same reason, because I blundered into this position, and then instead of taking my time and choosing the exchange stack, which I could clearly see is gonna give me better chances, I just kept playing fast, just gave a pawn, just lost the game without putting up a fight. So it wasn't that initial blunder, it was the kind of the giving up that really lost the game for me. So that was kind of a tough lesson to learn. So yeah, as much time as you need to compose yourself, that's kind of what to do. So we have a draw by agreement in the game between Mitch and Vishnu here after f4. I guess it was drawn by agreement. Definitely feels like black is the more pleasant position, but white was up on time, so I can understand both the offer and the acceptance. I don't know, hard to say if black can really get something. I mean, if we're getting some endgame with like 3 versus 3 and we have a rook on the 7th rank as black, that's kind of like a nice endgame. So I don't know, maybe like bishop f6 or something here, and then I don't know, white goes a4. It's not clear exactly what black is doing. Yeah, unclear position. Joel did end up winning against Quirked. That was a really crazy game. I'm sure that we'll have to do some analysis on this one. Yeah. Well, there's no rookie 1, rookie 2, or do you mean in a different position? And then this is kind of our final game of the day. We'll probably end this one here. Seems like white has decent chances of converting this, but it's still not easy, but it's easier than it was before. Oh yeah, if white trades off rooks, then can try to contest, right, with rookie 1, rookie 2. So yeah, definitely not super clear if black has anything real there. I think draw is kind of a fair result. But yeah, really exciting games tonight. Hey, Mitch. Well, you did much better today. I commented on your time management. I think was much more appropriate. Like you were spending time out of the opening and early middle game, like looking for an edge. But then we felt like once we got to the end game, you kind of went back to old habits and started playing. Like all of these moves came much faster than they needed to, and there was a lot to think about here. I mean, on all these moves like king f1 and e5, I'm not sure about. We actually thought, I'll just show you guys right now, white missed a win at this moment. Now at this moment, to Mitch's credit, he spent a lot of time here before playing bishop g1, so that was good. Like I think he spent like over 10 minutes. That was really important because this is like such a critical moment. We were thinking white is winning with this move, bishop c5. So threatening mate with rookie a check, and oh, bishop b4. Did we consider this one? I don't know if we actually looked at this one. That's cool though. I guess the idea is takes, you have perpetual with this, which is nice. You can also consider just recapturing. and then what? It's hard to stop you from going back. Wait, let's see here. Yeah, this actually might be working for black. If e6 we're taking, and then if takes, just king here is fine. Yeah, fair enough. I think we didn't really... Rook d8, king g7. What about bishop d4 in this position? Or is this what we just had? Oh wait, no. Oh wait, sorry, this one is hanging. Wait, this one needs to be played first, my bad. Bishop c3. Wow, what a funny perpetual that would be if it was bishop c5. Yeah, so I don't think white's in time to do anything like this. Okay, fair enough. So that makes sense. But I think the main thing was the time usage. I'm glad you spent time at this point, because that's just the biggest thing to... The biggest, I would say, barrier to finding fresh ideas is spending more time on the position. We missed some crazy moves in the game between Sam, Quirked, and Joel. That game was really something else. Alright guys, well I'm going to wrap up the stream here. Going to go ahead and raid our friend Grandmaster Josh Friedel, so you guys can check out what he's doing. I'm sure it's serious and instructional. And yeah, thanks for checking out Sunday Night Fights. Make sure... No, Josh Friedel is raiding us! we were just raiding Josh. That's bad luck. That's hilarious, but also bad luck. I'm gonna have to cancel the raid. You can check out our YouTube channel for our previous Sunday Night Fights. Yeah, we were just finishing here, and we were gonna raid you, and that's funny. I guess we'll have to go raid someone else now. Yeah, we had some interesting games. Thanks, Josh. I guess we'll raid Chess Athletic, our other friend. I am Raven Sturt. Oh, maybe we'll raid the Count next time. Our friend Christian. Well, thanks guys for checking us out. If you haven't seen Josh's channel yet, you should follow him as well if you're interested in just educational streams and instructive chess analysis. All right, tell Raven I